What's up, everyone? Welcome to Normal America Show. Host Rob Noor. So you got a lot of lint on me. What's going on? I was carrying garbage out before we did this. So Fridays are always a little strange as far as the timing of when I'll stream. So um, I think I may have some family functions that originally were put on hold earlier in the week, but now looks like is going to be on this evening. So I figured do the stream earlier in the day here, a little bit in the afternoon. So had a fun stream last night. We're going to talk a little about that stream last night. And then we're going to do a call-in show today. So if anyone wants to call in, now would be the day. We'll see if we could chum anyone in. You agree with me? You disagree? Want to talk about the ridiculous NFL draft? Want to talk about the ridiculous Pittsburgh Pirates? Want to talk about anything politically related? As long as it's within terms of service and it entertains me and the audience. So, Bleezers. Bleezers here is actually, I still remember Bleezers because isn't it weird how if you're on certain websites or things like that where people have, even on YouTube here, like some of you I recognize from your avatars, from little pictures that you have in your account. So I used to be on this website a lot above Top Secret, and Bleezers had a rabbit as their like a cartoon rabbit as their sort of avatar. And I still remember that from the days of Above Top Secret. Been a good guy since then. Yeah, I don't think I'll be streaming 6 hours, but be careful on your drive. Hopefully, I keep you entertained for a couple here. So, yeah, it should be a good stream. So, first, let's put out the invite. Skeens is pitching today, is he? I don't even, to be honest, I haven't paid much attention. I'm doing my part by not paying attention to the Pirates to get Bob Nutting to sell the team, so we get someone who actually pays money. That I saw a little bit of the draft. You know, Shador Sanders. I think that's how you pronounce his first name. Deion Sanders' son. Everybody was, oh, this dude's gonna be a top 5 pick, and then he ended up not being picked in the first round. It's kind of I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I kind of feel bad for the kid, to be honest. But who knows? Maybe it's the best thing that could happen to him. Maybe he'll have a chip on his shoulder like Tom Brady and just go in the NFL and dominate just the rest of his career. It doesn't matter if he wins like 10 Super Bowls. Just be like, remember when I got disrespected? Everybody's making fun of me for not getting drafted in the first round. I, I don't know. But I don't follow, to be honest, I don't follow sports enough to really have an opinion. I am a Steelers fan. I saw they drafted a guy by the name of Harmon. And I think that for D line, how do you call in? Well, you do not have to be a member. You don't have to have a camera. All you have to do is have a microphone. The link there, right here, you click on that. It'll take you to StreamYard. StreamYard's just a URL, so you won't have to download anything. It'll ask you to type in your name, check your audio, and then it'll come in and I'll see you in the room and I'll bring you in. So, yeah, I think he's probably a jerk and he's probably overhyped, but still, he's young. I sort of feel bad. As far as I know, he hasn't been in any like crazy legal trouble. He's just cocky. And why wouldn't you be? Your dad's a Hall of Famer, one of the best cornerbacks of all time. You know, you get all this hype. So, I did go to a Penguins game, not this year, but last year. I wanted to get out this year, but unfortunately was unable to. But we did, with a generational talent like Sidney Crosby, also have Kenny Malkin, Chris Letang. I wanted my son, if he grows up and he's a sports fan, to say, I went when I was 3 years old and saw Crosby and Malkin. I still remember going with my grandma and my mom and dad to Pittsburgh Pirates game circa like 91, 92 with Barry Bonds and Van Slyke. And I remember that. So yeah, sports, being a parent has really sucked the life out of a lot of sports for me. Betwixt says he's my biggest hater. I have to say, I love the word betwixt. There's this old clip. This is a little not safe for work here, so bear with me for a second. But there was this old clip of, I think it was Gronkowski, and he was asked at the Super Bowl press conference if he ever heard of the like fanfic that someone wrote of him, where it's basically like 50 Shades of Grey, except it's Gronk. They hand him the book and he just starts randomly reading a passage, and it's something like, he took me to the 50-yard line and bent me over and put his finger betwixt my buttocks, and like Gronkowski just loses it. And I really think it's the word betwixt that sets that all right, we got a caller already. So I'm gonna put that link again. If anyone else wants to call in, feel free. Only thing I ask if you call in is please keep it terms of service. Try not to get my channel banned. I would mucho appreciated. We'll keep people in longer if there's not as many callers. Obviously, if there's 20 people queued up, then you might only get a couple minutes, just because I don't want to stream all day, and I want to try to get everyone who calls in a chance to call in. So first we have Miguel Quintana. What's up, Miguel? How's it going?
Hey, I think I called you about 2 weeks ago
I
last time.
remember. Yeah, yeah.
Yep, I'm back again. Yeah, I got two things this time.
Okay.
It's about the Signal Gate Part 2 with P. Hexeth.
Sure.
And of course, I think it's probably linked to the fact that they have him, JD Vance, and Tulsi Gabbard pretty much stopped Trump from going to war of Iran.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing, I think it was with one of your debaters trying to justify, the injunctions of the courts and pretty much justifying the bureaucratic, being unaccountable because they're afraid of the president being unaccountable. Huh?
Yes. Yeah. So on the Signal Gate thing, we'll start with that. Yeah, I think that Hegseth's certainly being targeted because what's going on, I think, is the same as the first Trump administration, where you have all sorts of. For me, it's been the same story for years and years. The real power isn't with the presidency. It's not certainly not with Congress, right? The real power is the unelected bureaucrats. Right. They can't be held responsible by the American people. They're the ones who really run the show. Chuck Schumer told us in 2016, before Trump was sworn in, that Trump couldn't challenge them, or places like the FBI would find 6 ways Sunday getting back. So what happened is, like in the first term, Trump could appoint people at the top, but it's those middle management people that are there to stay, that are doing all sorts of crap, that are really running to the direction. And if anyone has any questions about this, go and look at the first impeachment of Trump, where you hear all these people from the State Department repeatedly saying over and over, Trump went against our foreign policy. And that's the way they look at it. They're the real power. The president's just a figurehead. They'll do what they want. And if the president goes against them, then they'll declare war on the president. To me, what you see is they are selectively targeting people that they think will be like Trump, that will go against their agenda in these bureaucracies. Pete Hegseth, Tulsi, and JD Vance happen to be three of those. And that's why they're going to go after them, because to them, they want war with Iran. That's what they want.
That's true. They've been trying to call for this since since I was born. Mind you, I was born in '95. I just turned 30. So they've been talking about this. Yeah, they've been talking about this since the late '90s. The Project for a New American Century.
Yes.
And it's been in the woodwork since then. And the thing is that, when it comes to the left, especially the crazy leftist streamers out there, like I was seeing you debating, people like Fatty, which I actually seen him debating people like Anton Daniels and Andrew Wilson. He still makes a fool of himself. And other people who tries to justify this, like, well, where were you guys at when Lloyd Austin pretty much botched the whole Afghanistan withdrawal that costed 13 American lives and probably thousands of Afghani lives, and throwing Afghanistan back into a Taliban-controlled state? Like, the whole point of
not only that, let's take it a step further. And then once they had egg on their face, right, they claimed that it was the fault of ISIS-K. Then they celebrated that they bombed ISIS-K, but it turned out it wasn't ISIS-K. It was actually a translator and his family that helped America. And then they investigated themselves. They investigated themselves and found that there was no one to blame.
Yeah, and that's even more insane.
They weren't anywhere. And then you could see, in conjunction with that, you remember when Lloyd Austin would just disappear for like weeks at a time? No one knew where he was, right? Yeah. So it of course, the way this works, I think there are different levels of criticism. I'm willing to take criticism for people who have been logically consistent, or if I don't know and it appears that they're arguing in good faith. So, for example, if someone who criticized Lloyd Austin and criticized the way the Afghan withdrawal happened, or other sorts of, people like that, they criticized Hillary Clinton's, private server. They criticized Joe Biden having classified documents stored in ways they wouldn't. If they want to now criticize Pete Hegseth and Signal and all that, I'm all for it. I say sure. My honest response is, unfortunately, I think this is the norm in how Washington operates. I think that
Yeah,
almost everyone mishandles classified documents. And what happens is, like, imagine a crime like speeding, right? What if we only chose to focus on speeding from the people that we politically disliked? And what if the FBI decided to only go after people they politically dislike for crimes, and then mainstream media decided to only go after? And so what happens is everybody's speeding, but we only focus on 2 to 3%, and it happens to be the 2 to 3% that are against what the people in power want to do. That's what's going on with Hegseth, Tulsi, etc. I just give this Signalgate 2.0 story zero time of day. I just don't care.
yeah,
It's
that's true. I
anonymous.
don't
It's
either because
anonymous source from the Washington Post, or I think it was the Washington Post. I can't remember where. But anyways, anonymous source that, like, what's the story here? He again posted what to his lawyer, and his wife was on there. I remember when Jill Biden was running strategy sessions because her husband's a human vegetable. These
yeah,
people had no problem with the president of the United States being a human vegetable and unelected bureaucrats whose names they didn't know running the show, with people like Hunter Biden at one point being the de facto sort of point person for Joe Biden, the same with Jill Biden. So
yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't take their criticism seriously. If it's going to be, hey, from now on, we're doing a thorough audit of everyone who ever communicates on any channel discussing any business in the government, and we're going to out them, fine. But unfortunately, the way our system works, that's literally going to be 95% of the people in Washington with security clearances that you're going to find texted a spouse, or texted someone who didn't have a security clearance, or they texted on a phone that wasn't a work phone, or they didn't use the appropriate. That's what you're going to find. We all
Yeah,
know
that's
it.
that's
And
true. Honestly, this is why I didn't really care about the whole signal gate. They wanted to remove Hexev. Like you guys are screaming at the top of your lungs. Yeah, you guys didn't even hold anybody in the Biden administration to the same account when they did worse. But you know what? Because they're partisan hack, they only want their side to be in power. They're mad about the fact that they got absolutely their ass handed in the last election because they were so arrogant thinking that, oh, we got this in the bag. You know, you guys set $2.5 billion on fire and literally lost all seven swing states and almost every state shifted to the right. Like you guys literally have been screaming on the top of your lungs, shaming us, telling us things, and we just stop listening. We just don't care. I think
right,
these
that's
people
that's that's
are,
exactly the right response to something like that. Signalgate 1.0, I gave my opinions on what was going on. I still think it's pretty ridiculous that Waltz wasn't fired, because there's no good explanation as far as I've seen. I've heard explanations that I'm not buying as to why. Who was it that was
yeah,
on
of
that
all the
chat with
people
them?
that was
Goldberg.
added to the signal chat, it has to be one of the worst people that was going
Right.
after Trump that made the most egregious lies that people still believe in to this day. Even my people in my job believe this lie because of Goldberg putting out these stupid lies. And yet, out of all people, it was him that was added to the chat. I knew it was basically did that. I believe it was done intentionally just to go after Trump because they don't like him. They don't
Yeah.
like anybody that challenges them. And now you have somebody who's challenging the status quo that's been in power for 80 years. And every time I mention that, it's like I'm being some retarded person, like I don't know anything. Like it doesn't matter if I don't know anything. The point is like this stuff doesn't work for us. It hasn't worked for us for a
And
long time.
I mean, again, the point is that it's fake outrage. It's the same people that 2 days after Trump was sworn in were yelling about egg prices, right? They don't
Yeah,
care. They don't care that they're disingenuous about it. Again, there are people that do care. But if you ask, like, even the people that do care, like on the grand scale of things, how bad is this signal story, particularly 2.0? It's like it's nothing, right? Compared to all the stuff we have going on in Washington. All it is it's the newest story. There's going to perpetually be outrage. That's the only game they have, to perpetually be outraged by the scandals of Trump. Next week, he'll feed koi fish in a manner that's not acceptable to them. And that will be the biggest story. And all your favorite left wing streamers will be on it. And they'll be screaming about how serious it is. And oh my goodness, why will none of the Trump supporters talk about how outrageous it is the way that he overfed this koi fish? There was a story yesterday. What was it? Politico? I can't remember the outlet. About JD Vance and sort of how he went and met the Pope, and like the idea of having pictures there, and how this was sort of scandalous, blah, blah, blah. And then like 14 paragraphs down, it's like, oh, by the way, Vance had special permission from the Pope's people to take photos. Right. But
yeah, it's
that's it's
ridiculous.
just it's always the next outrage with them. And then when they're in power, they cover up the fact that the president's a human vegetable. They cover up the fact that his son was lobbying for foreign interests, the spy chief of China, right? While he's in the White House doing stuff while his dad's basically out to lunch, right? So I'm sorry, I don't care about this. They talk about jeopardizing service members. They didn't care when their people literally led to 13 people dying, service members dying in Afghanistan. They didn't care about that. Like, so it's for me, it's just one fake story after another when it comes to the signal stuff. When there are stories that I think are worth criticizing Trump about, I'll criticize. For example, I still have questions about the way the Alien Enemy Act's being done and the bright line of sort of when we can accuse someone and what sort of due process is entitled to them. Those I think are more valid criticisms and like questions that could be raised. But the idea of the signal thing, I just give it no time of day.
So
I'll give you the final.
Going to that the whole Abrego Garcia thing. My question is, why do the Democrats, especially the crazy females, tend to bitch about Trump and his moral failings, but they go around sucking the worst and worst people. Like Abrego Garcia probably was accused of being a white beater, gangbanger, probably murdered somebody. Then you have someone like, I don't know, Destiny, who done some of the most egregious shit to women and guys, or Hassan Piker pretty much having his orbiters or his followers going after Ethan Klein. I can't remember the other one. I can't remember. Luigi Mangione, who killed a person in cold blood, and you have these girls fangirling, cleaning their pants for this guy, even though he doesn't give a shit about them. Like, what's going on with this? Like, am I seeing some? Am I like dreaming or something? Like, they bitch about Trump being a bad man, but they go for the worst of the worst douchebaggeries out there.
Well, I mean, if I could defend them a little, like the president being bad is worse than your favorite streamer being bad. So if we took an apples to apples situation and said, yeah, Trump cheated on his wife and my favorite left-wing streamer cheated on his wife, and yeah, I could understand why you would be more offended that the president did that than your favorite streamer. But in general, to what you're talking about, oftentimes the truth is that it's very simple. Anything they could do to attack Trump, that's it. And it's literally that simple. And so, like, I remember there was a poll during Trump's first administration where they asked Democrats, would you rather be neighbors with a MAGA supporter or an MS-13 member? And it was something like a huge percentage said they'd rather be neighbors with an MS-13 member, right? Like, the truth is they'll take sort of unscrupulous people if they think that taking those unscrupulous people could be an attack on Trump, and they'll try to whitewash and cover for it. So instead of the story being, look, yeah, it's probably that this Garcia guy was a bad guy. He probably did attack his wife. He probably was involved in human trafficking. He probably is a member of MS-13. And yet still this withholding order was ignored. The reason that story is not going to get much legs and they have to make this guy see sympathetic is most people aren't going to care. But even beyond that, like the Trump seems already admitted, like, yeah, we made a mistake. Mistakes like this happen all the time in the legal system, and no one gets this fired up over it. They have to make this guy to be this paragon of virtue because the truth is he represents exactly what they want. One, an attack on Donald Trump. And second, they want open borders. They want people like this in the country. And they want any excuse whatsoever to drag out the process for years and years. They'll use the excuse of due process, but in reality, they don't care at all about due process. They'll just use that excuse because they want to transform this country. And they know that they could use the legal system to say, we could bring in millions upon millions upon millions of people and ignore what the intent of our Constitution and what the intent of the executive is supposed to be. But at the same time, then appeal to the courts and say, each individual person out of these millions upon millions must be given full-length trials that will drag out 4 years, 5 years, which will mean that it'll take literally hundreds, if not thousands of years to deport the people that are already here. So,
yeah, honestly, I think a lot of these crazy leftist women just like to get off of being abused or so. Who knows?
I don't know about that
because it's ridiculous. Like they get off on the fact that you have the people on their side are some of the most egregious douchebags out there, but they will defend them and pretty much suck up to them every time. But again, but they bitch about other people who are not on this side, which is insane. Like, I'm like, girls, you get off of this crap all the time, so why should I take you seriously?
Yeah, I hear you. But hey, man, I got another person in. But thank you so much for calling in. And
No
hopefully we'll talk
problem.
to you soon.
All right.
I will see you, man. All right. Curtis has a camera, so I can see. I think he's ready. We'll bring him in. What's up, Curtis? How you doing?
Hey there, Rob.
Looking good. What's up
Can you hear
today,
me?
man? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I agree with about most of what you talk about here. I kind of just wanted to run an idea about you of what I've been seeing. So they've been letting all this crime go down in these big cities for a long period of time, and now they're starting to here recently I found on the news that they wanted to implement government food programs and government uh, what do you call it? Medical and stuff like that, even more than they already do. It just seemed like another step on the march to communism to me. But they're actually coming out and saying it them damn selves now. So
Yeah, no, it's certainly true. It reminds me a lot of the Gulag Archipelago and Solzhenitsyn, where like the entire point is the law-abiding citizen is treated worse than the criminal, the illegal, the
oh yeah,
foreigner. That's exactly the system we're in. It becomes frustrating because imagine like, listen, we can have discussions all we want about government intervention, welfare, things of that nature, but when it was just targeted to sort of conservative groups, so if you're just screwing over rural America, if you're just screwing over these border towns, predominantly of Hispanic people, towns of like 1,000, 2,000 people, where all of a sudden you have this influx of 2,000 migrants or illegals that are there, right? No one cared. But all of a
yeah,
sudden, when it started to become, well, you're in Chicago and you're in inner city Chicago, maybe you're a hardworking
yeah,
person, you happen to be black, and you see your communities falling apart. You see crime rampant, you see sort of social services aren't enough to help out your community. And all of a sudden you found out that like illegals are getting like 5 times more in subsidies a month than the poor people in your community. And you're
yep,
like, well, wait a
exactly.
minute, wait. And all of a sudden, then it's like now the Democrats have to pretend to care. But the truth is, despite the fact that we were told over and over again, no, they don't get welfare benefits. No, they're not getting any of these benefits. We know that's true. And now they're admitting, yes, that's the case.
I come from an illegal family. My stepdad he's from Veracruz, and I have a half sister. You know that's now we call it in my family. It's just my sister.
Right.
And he's did nothing but work 16-hour days and then come home and then work more. You know what I mean? He makes shit money. But he did nothing but put my mother through college and raise her 3 children.
Mhm.
So I mean, I can't say a bad thing about their work ethic. However, I am completely on board as far as getting the illegals out. He's illegal himself, but it has been just a drain on our economy and what we can become and everything like that. And
Well, let me be
it's
clear. Like, it's that illegals aren't monolithic. There are absolutely some illegals that come here because they want to work hard and they do work hard. That's
they
true.
do
There's no doubt.
they do.
There's certainly large portions of them that come in because they see it as an ability to get free money and things like
Yep,
that. That's
definitely.
true too. But my stance has always been that it's complicated to have these two thoughts in your head simultaneously. On one hand, I don't begrudge the individual illegal. I don't, right? If I'm living in Colombia and I'm struggling to make ends meet for my family, and I know if I make the trek to the United States, that me and my family are going to be given all sorts of guaranteed benefits, that there's going to be, an opportunity for me to work under the table.
Sounds like a good deal.
Right. So I don't blame them, but I also don't blame the citizens of this country saying, but we can't have that. We can't,
Yep.
like, we have to have a border. The people like
No,
your
it
father,
used to be the Mexicans, and but now it's the Guatemalans and the El Salvadors and the Venezuelans and the Nicaraguans. I mean, they opened up the whole floodgate. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
there has to be a stopping point.
right. And so the point is like the people that work hard, I am for deporting them and then giving them a process to come back. Because for me, I believe that our immigration system should have one criteria, and that is what is beneficial to the people of this country. Our government should exist solely as an extension of the will of the citizens of this country. And therefore, we should not be making decisions based on how can we help the poor people of Guatemala? How can we help the
Amen.
poor people of Zimbabwe? Like, I don't care at this point. I have a heart. I'll donate my personal money. I'll take
No,
personal.
all good faith is gone. I mean,
That's right.
there's no more no good faith. That
That's
you've
right.
spent it up at this point.
And I always give the analogy of, Halloween and the candy bucket. I don't know if you heard me say this, but at the equivalent says, you set the candy bucket out with the Ring doorbell and you say, hey, kids, take one. Your neighbor that's an adult takes all the candy. Does this for 3 years running. On the 4th year, you put a sign up that says, sorry, I can't leave candy anymore. And the neighbor knocks on your door and goes, what? You don't like the kids? That's terrible. That's what's happened. When you give an inch, right? What happens? You're like, yeah, I guess we should allow some hardworking illegals. Okay, fine. Yes, we should have an asylum process. Okay, fine. And then once it brings
But everybody has a sad story.
Right. So it brings in 12 million people in 4 years. And then you say, okay, enough's enough. Now we can't leave exceptions for, well, wait a minute, this illegal's hardworking. Because if we did, and we said, well, we're not going to deport this illegal because he's hardworking, every single illegal will say, but I'm hardworking. And if you say, with this Garcia situation, right? This is why I'm for, I think we should completely end all asylum claims in the United States because everybody has a claim. Listen to the way the Democrats talk about this. Even last night, the debate I had with this guy, they'll say, well, El Salvador is a torture prison. That's what it is. It's a torture prison. And so we can't send this Garcia guy back because he's worried about the Barrios 18 gang. And it's like, yeah, but that gang's probably wiped out. I mean, that was 2011. And when he was a teenager, and now El Salvador's went from one of the highest murder rates to one of the lowest in the world. So I don't know that this fear's there. The next step is they'll say, yeah, but we can't deport anyone to El Salvador because El Salvador itself is a murderous. And then they'll say the same about Venezuela, and they'll say the same about Guatemala, and they'll say the same about insert any country, right? And so
gangs trying to kill each other just sounds like a normal business to me. I mean, everyday sort of thing. Good.
So then, like I asked this guy last night, he said about El Salvador being a torture prison. I was like, is Rikers Island in New York a torture prison? Yeah, probably. So it's like,
I mean, any place outside of Sweden would be a torture prison.
Right. They're right. So it's like you end up in this weird spot where it's like with the left, what they call, and I shouldn't say the left.
I got to go back to work.
Okay. I'll finish. Thanks. Hey, thanks.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
What they'll do is constantly they'll claim that something's not happening or they don't want something. And then they'll just come right out and say, yeah, it's a good thing. And everybody knows this. I'm not breaking any ground here. So, for example, it was, oh, my God, great replacement theory is such a BS conspiracy theory. Who could believe this? It's garbage. And then you hear people like Chuck Schumer in the 2024 election cycle just proudly say, yeah, the idea is to eventually give all these people a path to citizenship. But wait a minute. I thought you said it was absurd to say that these people would eventually be voting. You could hear them gleefully talk about like, oh, because of immigration, the demographics of Texas will shift and eventually it'll become Democrat. Wait a minute. If it's not about reshifting the geopolitical map and the culture, then why are you then saying we should give them the right to vote? We should give them citizenship. And it's the same thing here, right? Where it's like, what they're really trying to say is they don't want these people deported. They're happy that they were brought in. They lied to you in the 2024 election cycle because they know how unpopular mass illegal immigration is. So they pretended that they wanted to be strong about it. But then as soon as you're like, okay, now Trump's done a pretty good job of stopping the influx. Now it's time to kick people out. They're like, no. You can't just kick people out. And they're going to make the case at the beginning that they're going to try to make it sound limited. We're just talking about this Garcia guy. We're just talking about him. He had a withholding order from El Salvador and you sent him to El Salvador. That must change. But if they bring him back, have a quick hearing and say, okay, he no longer has to fear Barrios 18 gang. Now we're going to send him back to El Salvador. They would say, well, you can't do that. El Salvador is a torture prison. He won't be safe there. They'll imprison him. That's not fair. And you heard, I think it was Adam when I talked to the other day. It was a fun debate. I enjoyed debating him. He basically acknowledges this. Yeah. It'd be dangerous to send people to El Salvador because, it's a prison state. So then we can't. So then it's like, okay, well, if we can't deport him to El Salvador, let's deport him to another country, Guatemala. And they'll say, well, that's not right. He has no connections to Guatemala. That's outrageous. You can't just deport people to countries they've never been to. Do you see the game here? What's up, Kurt? Thanks. Yeah, thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it. So, here is the link if anyone wants to call in. Now, as we wait for a call in, I thought that I'd talk a little about one of my haters. Dun, 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 dun. And one of the nice things about not being a huge streamer is oftentimes, regardless if you know it or not, I'm able to see comments on my videos. I can keep up with the chat somewhat, right? If there's 10,000 people watching, it's hard to keep up with the chat, really. But if there's only 100 watching, it's not so bad. So I see a lot of comments that people make on my videos, whether it be the live streams or it be my great editor Black Elk puts out sort of the regular videos that he edits for my live streams. I do get to see a lot of the comments, and I enjoy reading them. I even enjoy the ones that are critical. One of the people that comments on almost every one of my videos, and I know he'll be watching this in retrospect, so hi, how you doing? His name is Unholy Raft. That's his name. Now, Unholy Raft, I've offered to have come on and chat, but he must not have the time or the courage to do so. But he oftentimes has many things to say that are critical, and I chuckle reading them. But he outdid himself yesterday, and I thought it would be worth looking at. So first, let me ask is, how many people saw a healthy portion of the live stream I did last evening? I talked to a person who goes by the name Joe Over on X, and he was someone who challenged me on X that he was going to call in and defend the streamer Destiny about an X post I made. Destiny was saying Asmongold is fascist adjacent. I made a post saying, actually, Destiny's the last person that should make this, thing is how the authoritarian things that he's called for. And this guy said, I'll call in and defend Destiny's position. Okay. So he called in. How many people saw that? If you saw that stream last night, just give me a 1. Put a 1 in the chat if you saw that stream last night. Because I'm not going to play the whole video of the stream last night or anything, but we're going to talk a little about that stream just so you could see an idea. I think that it's important. Thanks, Bonley. I think it's important is just like a fun day, an off day here when we're having a call-in show to sort of look at the tactics that people will use. Now, I think that anyone that saw that, so we have some people that saw, I think that anyone who saw that stream last night objectively would have to say that the caller didn't do so well. Real quick, Dan Devlis, no, I completely disagree. I think Shipwreck Crew, who's one of my favorite legal binds that's on X, has argued against this successfully. Dan says, it looks like Garcia wasn't supposed to be deported to Guatemala, not El Salvador. At least that's what it looks like from the paperwork. Robert Guevega was reading the prior removal decision. I think what happened was the judge made a mistake in that paper where he said Guatemala, because there's so much evidence that is likely a mistake as opposed to the other end of it. For example, Trump's team immediately admitted that their understanding was the withholding order was from El Salvador. All of the testimony from the family, et cetera, was about El Salvador. There was basically no testimony whatsoever that said that this guy feared going to Guatemala. It seems as if that was just an error that one judge made in his description. Nonetheless, going on back to last night, when you see things like that, or my debate with Fatty, so let me compare some things, right? I thought of the people I've interacted with recently, here's the scale of how poorly they did. I thought that person, Fatty, that I debated, I'm not saying that as an insult, that's what he calls himself. Fatty that I debated last week, I thought he was amongst near the bottom of performance of people I've debated. Not good at all. And then slightly up from there, I would put the guy that I debated last night, this Joe Ever guy. And then I would put that Jola guy somewhere in the middle that I talked to last Wednesday. And then I would put Adam, who I talked to on Jake Rattlesnake show, near the top. Adam's one of my favorite people I've debated in a long time. I would be happy to debate him anytime. Thought it was cordial. We each let each other talk with minimal intervention from the host. He knew what he was talking about. He actually could string together an argument. It was great. I love that. Right. But like, if you watched me debate that Fatty guy or this guy last night, they didn't do so hot. They didn't. So when you see people that are like just gut reaction, like Rob's terrible, he's just the worst, blah, 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 blah. And they're making the arguments like when I'm debating people like Fatty or with this guy last night, you can kind of see sort of the tactic of what's going on. And I love these hate watchers. Like, I wonder if there's like I know this probably isn't the case, but I can't help in my imagination to think that this is the case, that there are people from other people's community that are like tasked with, okay, us Destiny fans, we're going to make sure that we have eyeballs on the people that criticize him. You're going to go and watch Rob stream every week, and you're going to watch Andrew Wilson stream, and you're going to watch Lecture Fan, and you're going to, right? Like something like that. Is that how you get these hate watchers? I don't know. But so this guy last night in me debate, he calls in. I thought it would be worth looking at this screen from one of my hate watchers, Unholy Raft, my premier hater. Thank you so much, Unholy Raft. By the way, he's not going to. I have no intentions to ban him or anything like that. I think it's great engagement. I enjoy it. It provides me a great sense of amusement. So let's look at his comment. The first thing you'll recognize is look at the length of this comment from this video last night. Amazing. This is absolutely amazing. Look at this. Still going. Woo! Isn't this great? So let's go through some of this, huh? He's going to nail me down. He's nailed me down how bad I did last night. All right, here we go. I know, that's what I'm saying. I'm pleased with this. It's one thing to have fans that donate money to me, fans that say nice things about me, but it's so great that there's some guy out there that's consuming every bit of content I do. And it's like, I'm going to the computer. I'm going to type up. So let's see the great points that Unholy Raft made here. You ready? Thank you so much, Unholy Raft. The content is mucho appreciated. And if you ever want to call in, I know he'll say, I never remember Rob saying to call in. Unholy Raft, here you go. If you ever want to call in, just let me know, man. You're already hitting me up every day on the chat, right? On the comment section of my videos. Let me know. Hey, I'd love to call in and talk to you, Rob. All right, here we go. He says, so much of Rob just confuses me. I figured I'd make a longer post with timestamps to show his idiocy on this one. At 11 minutes, Rob scheduled this debate publicly for Wednesday. I don't know what dimension he lives in because the date of this debate is on a Thursday. Now, this is usually where Rob leaves out his private combos and what goes down in those convos because it will affect his ability to spin a narrative later. Also worth noting, he didn't even stream on Wednesday, LOL. Since Rob says he scheduled it for Wednesday, but Rob never streamed it, this happened on a Thursday, I'm betting that Rob had to reschedule, so he contacted him privately. So Rob rescheduled the debate he set for a date for, then he jumped on with his audience and accused his opponent of not showing up before the official meeting time even. I will be shocked if going forward, Rob actually makes arguments for why Destiny's for censorship and of fascist right-wingers, because it sounds like he's just hoping no one shows. I almost wonder if Rob even told the guy he wasn't streaming Wednesday, and if the guy just showed up and ran with it. I'm not going to show the post unless someone really wants to. I will contact Joe Ever to ask if he allows me to show the DMs. But I will read this at Wednesday, 11:39 a.m. Joe Ever messaged me and says, hey, my travel date for work was moved up to today, so I will not be able to call in today at 7 p.m. Are you streaming any other day? I would still like to chat if interested. Let me know, and I hope you have a nice day. I respond at 11:45 a.m., 6 minutes later. Sure, tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. Eastern time. That would be Thursday at 7. Thanks. I appreciate you for being flexible. No problem, I say. So this entire conspiracy theory that, Rob didn't stream Wednesday and he's withholding the private DMs. And probably what happened was Rob had to reschedule and then he blamed this other dude. That's probably what's going on. When in reality, the exact opposite is the truth. The person cordially asked me, said he had a conflict, asked if we could reschedule for another day. When's the next day I'd be streaming? I told him the next day would be Thursday at 7 p.m. He said, sounds great. When I came on, I was already talking about sort of the modern day debate situation with the schedule on Friday's debate that got all screwed up. And I made the comment, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy no shows because he's supposed to be on at 7 p.m. And I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't happen either. He showed up. I said, wow, I'm glad you're here. I didn't think you would show. There you go. So there's number one to show. Remember, what this is going to do is show my idiocy, was his claim. What's going on here? This isn't good. That's what we're going to do. Show my idiocy. So there's this whole paragraph. One whole paragraph. Absolute nonsense. Right out of the gate. Okay, moving on. 1745, Rob says he'll look for evidence to prove his claim of what Destiny said. While he does this, he wants to explain the counterclaim made in rebuttal. Worth noting that even in collegiate debate, following this conversation is an important part. I have no idea what he's trying to say here. Yes, in collegiate debate, oftentimes what happens is the arguments that are made in round get explored. That's what happens. So, for example, oftentimes in collegiate debate, you'll present to your opponents, at least if you're affirmative, what your plan and your arguments are before the debate. But if during the debate something else gets raised, that oftentimes gets explored. It doesn't get ignored, so you can focus on what you thought you were going to talk about. But I'm not quite sure what he's trying to say here, if I'm honest. He says, before we leave this to timestamp pieces of the counterclaim inside the rebuttal, at 22:45, Rob claims that his opponent has no evidence to support his counterclaim. Now, just to be clear, the counterclaim is, this is what's going on here. This guy, I said in my post of Destiny's oftentimes called for censorship of people. The guy says, I don't know if I believe that because I've seen you misrepresent people in the past. I've been watching you and I see you misrepresent comments that people make. I say, where? Where have you seen me do that? Now, what Unholy Raft here is trying to say is, I shouldn't say that. I should just accept that. I should just accept, yes, this gentleman said that he's seen me misrepresent people, but Rob, as a collegiate debater, should not say, do you have proof of that? No, instead, Rob should prove his claim first and then later come back to this claim that's being made of him, that he has misrepresented people. Why? If I said, hey, here's why I think that we should have, stronger borders, and he said, well, I've seen you, you're a racist, I wouldn't be allowed to say, what have I said that's racist? Can you prove that? Unholy Raft would say, no, that's bad form. You have to table that. Just accept that he called you a racist until an hour later when you get back to it. So why can't I ask him? He made an accusation about me. He said, I made a claim. I said, Destiny's routinely called for the censorship of people. He says, I don't know if I believe that. I'd like to see proof because I've seen you misrepresent people. I say, how? And the reason it's important to have this conversation about this accusation first is because what's going to happen later in this debate, which is I'm going to prove that Destiny said the things that I'm claiming that he said, and what's my opponent going to say? But that's different. But actually, you're misrepresenting him. That's not what he really meant when he said the exact words that you quoted him as saying. So I'm getting out in front of it, right? Because his argument's going to be, I can't, even if you provide the receipts, I don't trust you because, and he even says this in this part. He says, well, the problem is when you talk about things Destiny said, maybe Destiny said that in a 3-hour conversation and you're leaving out the other 3 hours. And so if he's allowed to poison the well and say, well, Rob routinely misrepresents people, and so therefore, even if Rob could provide the timestamp, even if he could provide the audio of the exact quote, you shouldn't trust him because Rob's not playing the full 3-hour conversation for you. So why would you believe him? Because he routinely misrepresents people. So again, so far in Unholy Raft's large screed that he has here, criticism 1 was, I must have rescheduled and lied, and I'm too much of a coward to show my conversation to see that. Blatantly not true. And if Unholy Raft wants to make a point of this, then I will call Joe Ever, or I'll get in contact with him and say, excuse me, would you mind if I release the direct message that we had? They're pretty benign. I already talked about it. Would you mind if I release it? And then you could confirm that this was the conversation. And then you think Unholy Raft will go, oh my God, I'm sorry. What an incredible misread. Actually, it turned out that Rob was being generous and he wasn't the one that rescheduled. Of course not. So that was paragraph 1. Paragraph 2 is, well, Rob, instead of talking about his claim, he wants to talk about the, quote, counterclaim. The counterclaim is, I don't believe you, Rob, because you misrepresent people. So he says, Rob claims his opponent has no evidence to support the counterclaim. The counterclaim is that I routinely misrepresent people, that he's seen me. And then he says, which is interesting, that although Rob made the very first claim in the convo, he chose not to provide evidence and instead attacking his opponent for not having evidence of his counterclaim. Well, if you follow along, I'm going to provide evidence eventually. Right after this, opponent even notes that Rob hasn't provided any evidence. Rob does click his keyboard, move his mouse, but he goes right back to arguing. Yes, what I started to do was queue up the video exchanges that I personally heard Destiny referencing me when he talked about censorship. I did not have the timestamps of them. So what I'm going to do, as you'll see later in the debate, is I go through and try to find the two interactions I had with Destiny that prove the things that I'm saying that he said. So yes, I was queuing up a clip as I'm telling this person. Now, I thought that it was common knowledge that people had heard Destiny say that he would call for censorship of certain people on the right. So I didn't have these clips ready, but once they were asked for, I started to queue them up to provide them. Again, Unholy Raph's entire argument here is I should have just accepted the claim, the accusation made to me that I misrepresent people. How dare I rebut that? How dare I? You just have to accept that and go forward. 23 minutes. He says, now Rob is hung up on what he perceives as a moving of the goalpost. The guy did clearly say he was adding this to it, but for some reason, Rob won't hear his words and make his own point. I have no idea what he's talking about here. I guess we'll click the timestamp and see.
You are loading the
sorry, I have this muted.
language that you use to make it sound way worse. So the same way that you just claimed that Destiny has advocated for right-wing social justice or social media personalities to be taken offline, yet you haven't given me a clip of that exact thing yet, first off. Secondly, you're using that loaded language of like, I haven't personally seen this from Destiny, so like you can claim this, but like at the same time, it's probably taken out of context. I would be willing to bet.
Taking out of context is a different argument than I don't like the tone in which you said it.
It can be part of the same argument.
You can say that,
tonality is part of context.
That's part of language. So this is what he's talking about. So originally, when I asked my opponent how I was misrepresenting people, and I was quoting the exact words that I heard Destiny say, he said that he didn't like the tone, or he didn't like the specific words that I chose. So even if I directly quote Destiny, if I say, I think it's terrible that Destiny unfortunately said writing's the other side of the coin of voting, he would say, oh, well, that's a misframe because you use the word terrible. You use the word unfortunate. So I don't like the way you're framing that. I don't like the tone of the way you're talking about it. And then he says that I'm taking it out of context, which is a different argument, which I address that as well. 24 minutes. His opponent tries to center the crux of the argument beyond the core issues brought forth. When in this minute, they repeat the points made in the above-mentioned timestamp. They attempt to center the argument away from the meta-argument Rob wants to have, which was a failure, clearly, LOL. What was the failure about the meta-argument? I was accused. Again, Unholy Raph would never accept this. Imagine that I'm having a debate with him and I say, you lie all the time. I've heard you lie repeatedly. And he said, where? Show me one time. And I said, oh, you're clearly trying to recenter the argument. Look at what he's doing. Now he's changing the argument about him lying. You just have to accept the fact that I called you a liar, and you're not allowed to say that that's not true or ask for evidence. If you ask for evidence of that claim, that's clearly you trying to skirt the central issue of this debate. It's laughable. Moving forward. He says 33 minutes going forward, or 30 minutes, 30 seconds. Oh, I'm sorry. Where are we at? 28 minutes. Rob is still trying to argue a quote he got in a conversation from like 4 years ago. We are over the 10-minute mark. Rob says he wants to argue the claims he made in the tweet, remember? But we are still having this conversation despite his opponent 3 different attempts to center the conversation to their previously discussed points. His opponent makes it clear for the 4th time that arguing Rob's loss from 4 years ago isn't why they met to talk. 1, I didn't lose my discussion with Destiny 4 years ago. 2nd, isn't Unholy Raph doing exactly what he's accusing me of what Joe Ever accused me of? He's using loaded language. I don't like his tone. I don't like your tone. Again, he said that I misrepresent people. I said, give me proof. He said, like when you said that Destiny said that riots were the other side of the coin to voting, and that was misrepresenting him. I said, fine, let's go back and find the quote. First, he said he saw Destiny talk about it, and I misrepresented him. Then I said how. He said, well, the words I used loaded language. He didn't like the tone. And we talked about that for a couple minutes, and then he said, well, it's because you're taking him out of context. I said, well, what was the context? What was the context of Destiny saying writing's the other side of the coin to voting? What's the context? And what's Unholy Raph say about all this? The fact that I'm looking up this quote. That's clearly not what the original conversation was about. Original conversation was about Destiny being embracing authoritarian type policies while calling other people authoritarians, or authoritarian positions or fascist position while calling other people fascist adjacent. We start to have that conversation. I say, Destiny has said this. He says, I don't believe you. You routinely misrepresent people. In other words, even if you show me a quote of Destiny saying that, I don't believe you. I don't believe it because you're misrepresenting him. And when I start to push back on that, Unholy Raph's argument is, you can't push back on that. It's just absolute silliness. 29:45. I kid you not. At this point, Rob's still having the meta argument about the route, the entire conversation now. Kind of funny also that while he retells the events, he does super skim over the part where he puffs his chest about going over what he said, but he doesn't want to hang the entire conversation on this part. I don't even know what he's trying to say here. 30 minutes, 30 seconds going forward. I just feel it's best to recap Rob's points the same way he recaps others' points. So Rob tells us here that he's capable of criticizing Trump, and his first example is that Trump isn't deporting people for the right reasons. Actually, Rob has defended. So at 30:50, he says he's going to say this point pro January 6th thing. Number 3, I criticized heavily his meme coin shit and thought that was ridiculous and said it was.
One criticism.
He would any other country, including people in this country. So in other words, you could on campus say you hate white people and they're not going to threaten to deport you. You could say we hate Christians and they're not going to threaten to deport you. But if you say we hate Israel, they would threaten to deport you. That's number 1. Okay. Right. Number 2, you have people like Jensen, I forget his first name, but this Jensen guy that's being appointed, that was absolutely terrible. It's like this pro January 6th thing. Number 3. Okay. That's the point. At 30:50, he says, actually, Rob has defended Hegseth and his team in the past. He only just recently switched because of the Signal group chat happened again. His old video of him mocking the left for it is still up. So he actually doesn't have a number 2. Did you hear what my number 2 was? That they promoted this guy Jensen inside the FBI, who was this big January 6th guy that was going after January 6th insurrectionists, blah, blah, blah. What the hell does that have to do with my comments on Pete Hegseth and Signal? Let's say I have defended Hegseth in the past. Yep. I did make fun of the left talking about Signal chat. Yep. What does that have to do with? Oh, one of the things I criticized the Trump administration for is that they promoted this Jensen guy who was a big go after January 6th. They're all insurrectionists. They promoted him within the FBI. The FBI isn't even Hegseth's department. What does that have anything to do with anything? Now, again, allow me to stop and reframe for a minute. This Unholy Raph guy is a nobody. He won't call in. I give him the invitation. He has the invitation to call in. He could call in. He's probably not watching right now. He'll watch in retrospect and write a big, long book about this conversation, which I'm happy to do. Isn't it nice knowing that one of my haters not only is giving me free content that I could come on here and mock him for, but then he's going to spend hours of his time watching my material and then writing big books about it. And it's all bullshit that's easily debunked. Right? And you can see here. Well, actually, when Rob makes 6 points, his number 2 point about not liking Jensen being promoted within the FBI, he's defended Hegseth. Yep. And it's hilarious to me. I love it. Let's see. I also couldn't find a single thing Rob has ever said about that meme coin. It's not true. I've said things about the meme coin. Let's see if I can find something quick. I know I've posted about it on X. I know I've talked about it on By the way, I hate X's search features. Let me find better way to do this. At Rob Nor Trump coin. Let's. Now I feel like I gotta find it, or I'm gonna be accused of being a liar. So let me see. I bet I could find it easier on my phone. Well, anyone, so I'm not looking here the whole time. I'll give Unholy Rap this. It's harder to look up. There's these people are coming. Anyone who on X can find me talking about Trump's crypto scam or crypto coin, crypto meme. When would the date of that been? It would have been after he won the election, but before he was sworn in. Is that correct? Maybe I put crypto. Nonetheless, it's out there. I'll find it and put the receipts up at a later date. I assure you. Anyone get a special shout out if they could find on X or any video of me talking about it. I was quite clear in not liking Trump's crypto coin or Melania's. Rob says his opponent could pick their poison and choose to criticize Harris or Biden. His opponent goes on to list 6 or 7 things. Most of the things he listed were things like, I thought they could have ran the campaign better this way. He lists like 2 or 3 and then starts talking about the things they did that was good. 33-32, Rob claims he listed 6 his opponent listed 2 things other than they didn't like Biden. So the actual breakdown is 3 Harris complaints and 3 to 4 Biden complaints. The caller was likely taking notes and caught his number of criticism was good, but Rob wasn't listening or paying attention. Let's go back and take your poison. Criticism.
Wow. All right. So I mean, I can give you a little bit of both if you like. So
Sure.
I think for Kamala, I think that her not having a sister soldier moment was an incredible mistake. I think she should have put herself further distance away from the Palestinian crowd, because I feel like you're in a kind of a no-win situation there. So I feel like you need to do what I believe the voter base would want, which are more heavily favored towards Israel than they are towards the Palestinians. So that's for Kamala on her. I think some of her campaign stuff, I think she let Republicans dictate to her too much about what her policies were, and versus actually going on the attack for what her policies were truly are, even if I disagree with them, because I do disagree with most of them. Like I said, if Nikki Haley came out of the Republican primary, I would have.
Okay, so that's two criticisms about how Kamala ran her campaign. Not things she did that he disagreed with as far as the politics, but just how she ran her campaign. Okay.
Voted for Nikki Haley. But like at the same time, for Biden, I think he didn't go far enough in the Middle East. I think that he was too gentle on Iran. I think he was too gentle with Yemen. I think he was too gentle with pretty much that entire region. I think he was too gentle on Russia. I think that there should have been more involvement with the United States at an earlier point in time with the Ukrainians. So a lot of my issues that I have with Joe Biden are a lot of foreign policy issues. A lot of his domestic policy.
He was too weak in intervening. One.
I mean, I agree with a lot of what he was aiming for. Do you not like chips and science? Do you not like us working on infrastructure? Do you not like us trying to bring down the inflation with the Inflation Reduction Act? The only way to bring in more revenue for the government is to hire more IRS.
Right, you're talking about things you like. Cool.
So what I'm saying is that I can do this too all day. I can make criticisms of my own side. So like,
you can't. I named 6. You named 2 of Biden. So he said, I think that he was too weak on foreign policy. He should have intervened more. And I think his domestic stuff was really good. That's what he said on Biden. Now, I guess you could say, yeah, but he said when foreign policy being too weak in intervention, he listed 4 countries. So that should be 4 separate things. Okay, fine. And he said 2 or 3 about Kamala, about the way she ran her campaign. His stance that I wasn't listening. And actually, he lists, let's see. I skipped a part. We'll get back to that. Actually did a 5-minute search of me saying about the meme coin. He has no idea what I was talking about. Well, in fairness, it took me about 5 minutes and I didn't find it either. Also sounds like an opinion he never publicly stated. Not true. Give credit where it's due. Rob has criticized spending practices. I heard Rob talk econ before. He's very uneducated, so I wouldn't be shocked if this one was legit. Again, he could say I'm uneducated, but this guy's a coward who won't call in, and he's been wrong about everything he said so far, because damn small numbers are all he cares about when the word spending comes along. Actually, Rob is playing games on his last 2 points on March 26th. He tweeted he thinks the swamp will not be drained because Trump's endorsement of Lindsey Graham, but instead he separates these points so he could have more complaints, which made clear that the Lindsey Graham thing is just a reasoning for his final point, not its own separate point. Again, so when my opponent says, well, I think Biden was weak on foreign policy. He should have intervened more in Yemen, in Ukraine, and he lists a bunch of countries. Those are all each individual points. But when I say I don't like the fact that he backed Lindsey Graham, and then I don't like the fact that he's not draining the swamp, he says that's only one argument. Rob then asks in return for his criticisms. He wants his opponent to give him 6 of his own, but he also wants to give him 6 criticisms of Biden from Destiny's point of view. Yeah, Rob lied and stretched his points to create his list. So where did I lie in my list? And stretch points to create his list, but his opponent needs to do double the work because I have no idea. Because the point I'm trying to make is he's here to, quote, defend Destiny. He can make, this is what he said, he could make Destiny's arguments for him. Well, then make Destiny's argument. If the argument's going to be, Destiny's saying that Republicans will never criticize their side, and I say that's not true. I criticize my side all the time. When does Destiny? I'm giving him the option to say, or when do you as well? It's worth noting in 3150, the opponent says he picked their poison. Rob claims he listed 6. They're only listed 2 things they didn't like about Biden. So the actual breakdown is 3 Harris complaints or 3 to 4 Biden complaints. You heard the Biden complaints. It was 1. Caller was likely taking notes and caught his number of criticism was good, but Rob wasn't listening or paying attention to his own words, so he only heard 2 complaints. Now Rob wants to complain that the caller didn't do 6 Destiny complaints. I kid you not. He wants to be patted on the head and told he's a good boy for faking 6 criticisms and then demanding 12 from his opponents. I did not fake 6 criticisms. I gave 6 criticisms. People that follow my show a lot, and I know Unholy Raft would know that I criticize Trump all the time. What I'm asking for is if this person saying that Destiny's complaint is Republicans won't criticize their side, there he is. There's the coward now. I'm too much of a coward to call in, but this dumb streamer's too scared to talk to me directly. Here we go. Here's the link. Call in. Here we go. He's here. Unholy Raft. Da, 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 da. He's here. Jack of Trades, thank you so much for the $20. Says, this is great. Not only do you get more content, seething DGG nerds are now going to flood the channel and drive up your interaction. Isn't it great? I will jump on in 30 minutes and walk you through your idiocy since you're feeling inclined to call me out again, boss. Thank you for calling me boss. Compared to you, I am certainly a boss. Fine. Your comment was made at 1:41, so we'll give you 30 minutes. We'll go through the rest of this ridiculous screed, and then you can call in and I'll prove what an idiot you are. It should be great. So I was right. Tell me how the Fed will fix it. I'm in chat right now and you're avoiding me. LOL, cry harder. Well, yes, I wasn't reading the chat. I was reading your stupidity here that you have here, but I'm doing it now. Let's go through the list of the 6 that I went, just so Unholy Craft is saying I didn't make 6 criticisms of Trump. That's what he's saying. I did not make 6 criticisms of Trump, and I'm lying and saying my opponent only made 2. Let's play the whole segment, shall we? Would any other country, including people in this country. So in other words, you could on campus say you hate white people and they're not going to threaten to deport you. You could say we hate Christians and they're not going to threaten to deport you. But if you say we hate Israel, they would threaten to deport you. That's number one. Number one, I think they're going too heavy on censoring people that are criticizing Israel. And the policies of these deportation policies and things like that seem to be ones that you could criticize Palestine, you could criticize France, you could even criticize white people, Christians, whatever, and you're not going to be enforced upon as much as if you criticize Israel. By the way, these are comments I made unsolicited at real time. I argued with my audience over and over again about this. I even went on and talked to Pisco about these. Okay. Right? Number 2, you have people like Jensen, I forget his first name, but this Jensen guy that's being appointed, that was absolutely terrible. It's like this pro-January 6th thing. Number 3, appointing this guy that was heavily into prosecuting January 6ers that said that they were insurrectionists, etc., to a higher position in the FBI. Number 2, bizarrely, Unholy Craft says that doesn't count because I've praised Hegseth, who's not at the FBI. That's number 2. 3, I criticized heavily his meme coin shit and thought that was ridiculous and said it was childish. Number 4, meme coin thing. I criticized all sorts of the spending that he's put forth, that he was favoring the Republican spending bill and was going after people like Thomas Massey. Number 5, going after Thomas Massey and pushing forth the massive Republican spending bill. I criticized him praising people like Lindsey Graham, who I think's a war hawk that he needs to run from. Number 6, endorsing neocons like Lindsey Graham that I think are war hawks. I think he's making the exact same mistakes, putting people around him that are pro-war and pro-establishment, and so it's not draining the swamp, it's actually helping embrace the swamp. Now, putting people in his administration, note that Lindsey Graham wouldn't be included as being in his administration, that are war hawks that want to do things like go after war in Iran. That's 6. Can you show me 6 criticisms that you or your boy Destiny made of Joe Biden going into the election?
I can give you 6 or 7 or 10 criticisms of Joe Biden right now if you'd like.
When he was
unlike
running,
you, I was supporting Nikki Haley in the primary because
when he was president, that you were making during the election versus him and Trump.
Yeah, I can give
let's hear. Okay, so I asked for the criticisms he's making of Joe Biden during the election, not afterwards, as everyone's want to do. Now everyone knows that Joe Biden was a human vegetable. Now we all criticized it, they'll say. Back in the day, we did. Trust us. Super serious. We did. Trust us. But what were you saying when it mattered? Because I criticized Trump all through his first term, and then I criticized Trump so far during his second term. I just gave 6 criticisms that I've made of him. I have more that I've criticized. What did Destiny do? What did this guy do? What did Unholy Raft do? What were their criticisms while there was a presidency when it mattered? What were their criticisms of Kamala Harris during the election cycle while it mattered? And how about
criticisms of Biden?
You could make them, but I also want you to tell me the ones you heard Destiny make. Go ahead. Oof. Yes, I do say you could tell me what you said, but I'd like to hear the ones you heard Destiny make because he claims that he's here defending Destiny, making the arguments that Destiny would make. So if he's making the claim, Destiny's central argument is Trump supporters will never criticize him. And I'm like, well, what criticisms does Destiny offer when Biden was in office of Biden?
For criticisms of Biden?
Yeah.
Okay. So
or Kamala when she was running. Take your poison.
Wow. All right. So I mean, I can give you a little bit of both if you like. So
sure.
I think for Kamala, I think that her not having a sister soldier moment was an incredible mistake. I think she should have put herself further distance away from the Palestinian crowd, because I feel like that was
number one. The sister soldier moment, Clement's kind of dumb, but I will accept, should have distanced the pro-Palestinian crowd. Okay, there's one.
kind of a no-win situation.
By the way, I'll take his word that he was making these criticisms during the election.
In there, so I feel like you need to do what I believe the voter base would want, which are more heavily favored towards Israel than they are towards the Palestinians.
Also, notice that his are going to be strategic, right? His aren't, here's something I disagreed with them doing because I don't like that policy. His are going to be, oh, I'm going to criticize the strategy. So he's not saying, actually, I dislike the Palestinian protester. He's saying it would harm her politically, but nonetheless.
Palestinians. So that's for Kamala on her. I think some of her campaign stuff, I think she let Republicans dictate to her too much about what her policies were, and versus actually going on the attack for what her policies truly are, even if I disagree with them, because I do disagree with most of them. Like I said, if Nikki Haley came out of the Republican primary, I would have voted for Nikki Haley. But like,
okay, second thing, she didn't advocate her policies strongly enough. She let Republicans say what they were.
At the same time, for Biden, I think he didn't go far enough in the Middle East. I think that he was too gentle on Iran. I think he was too gentle with Yemen. I think he was too gentle with pretty much that entire region. I think he was too gentle on Russia. I think that there should have been more involvement with the United States at an earlier point in time with the.
So he says Biden was too gentle in the Middle East, and then he lists countries in the Middle East. Okay, that's one. Even if I give him as a number two, and he was too gentle on Russia, which is the same criticism, but okay, granted, Russia's not in the Middle East. So, okay, there's two.
Ukrainians. So a lot of my issues that I have with Joe Biden are a lot of foreign policy issues. A lot of his domestic policy, I mean, I agree with a lot of what he was aiming for. Do you not like chips and science? Do you not like us working on infrastructure? Do you not like us trying to bring down the inflation with the Inflation Reduction Act? You know, the only way to bring in more revenue for the government is to hire more IRS.
Right, you're talking about things you like. Cool.
So what I'm saying is that I can do this too all day. I can make criticisms of my own side. So like,
but you can't. I named 6. You named 2 of Biden, and then started talking about things you liked. Did you or Destiny criticize? Now, where am I wrong? How many did he name of Biden? How many was it? You just heard. Was too weak in the Middle East, was too weak on Russia. Then he said, but I like what he's doing domestic policy-wise. Where am I wrong? I guess you could have said, but he also named 2 or 3 on Kamala Harris. Where was I wrong again? You just heard it. Besides his obvious cognitive decline.
Yes, absolutely. But at the same time, I also said that I would vote for a corpse over Donald Trump.
So he claims, yes, I did criticize Biden's decline, but I said I would vote for a corpse. Now, this is the entire argument. His argument is, this guy calling in, Destiny's central argument is, Trump people will always back Trump no matter what. And then his argument is, I would go against Trump always no matter what, so much that I would vote for a corpse. That's his argument. Again, projecting. So we'll go back to this sentence. Rob asked that in return for listing his fake criticisms, they're not fake. He wants his opponent to give him 6 of his own and 6 of Biden from Destiny's point of view. We already discussed this. Rob says his opponent can pick their poison. Rob claims he listed 6 and his opponent only listed 2 things they didn't like about Biden. That's true. He did only list 2 things about Biden, and that's being generous. It's probably only 1 thing because he said he was too weak foreign policy intervening. So the actual breakdown is 3 Harris complaints and 3 to 4 Biden complaints. It wasn't 3 to 4 Biden complaints. Remember, Unholy Graph says that actually me saying that endorsing Lindsey Graham and that Trump is putting people around him that are like pro-war hawks is the same thing. But he's going to say, actually, when he says, I think he was weak interventionism with foreign policies in the Middle East, each country in the Middle East counts. Laughable. The caller likely was taking notes. The number of criticisms was good, but Rob wasn't listening or paying attention, so he only heard 2 complaints. Not true. Now Rob wants to complain the caller didn't do 6 Destiny complaints. I kid you not. He wants to be patted on the head for faking 6 criticism, demanding 12 from his opponents. Not what I did. 3501. I quote, I could have predicted what your argument was going to be. We're at this point 20 minutes into a conversation. Rob made the first claim, and we're still waiting for him to provide the video of the quote he's claiming happened. We've now waited 17 minutes and gone through 3 different subjects, but yeah, now Rob is pretending he could have predicted the argument. Keep in mind, Rob said that he would discuss his tweet, but that hasn't happened yet. So I'm not even sure what Rob thinks he could have predicted. Also worth noting, well, the reason that I'm saying I could have predicted what he said was because he did exactly what I said, which was why it was important to go through this, right? Because what ends up happening is when I am later able to provide the exact quote, he says, no, you're misrepresenting it, which is why when he says, I've routinely heard you misrepresent people's comments, it's important to deal with that before I provide the exact quote, because when I provide the exact quote, he'll say, well, I already told you, you routinely misrepresent people's comments. That's why we're dealing with it in that order. Now, here is Here we go. Oh, he's typing vigorously. Do you hear him? Here he is, my primo hater. Someone who loves to hate me so much that he writes these books every day. Someone who's a coward, who won't show his face and doesn't have his own channel. And so he's going to, I'm not screaming. And so that he's going to have so much of his life dedicated to writing comments on every one of my videos. And I thank him so much for the engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, Unholy Raft himself, give him a round of applause. Thank you so much, Unholy Raft, for finally not being a coward and calling in. We all appreciate the content that you provide. Thanks so much. Would you like to shout out a channel or anything like that you have?
Oh yeah, sure. Actually, I would love to. So I think I tried to talk to you in the Christmas, and I posted screenshots on my actual channel, Shipwreck Demon, the one you blocked, where you actually completely lied about how we were supposed to meet up.
What did I say how we were supposed to meet up?
I believe you said that we were going to meet up on some stream, and you told your entire stream that you took time away from your son, your family. You played the little tiny violin to the best of your ability.
Oh, I remember.
And
this.
then when I posted the screenshot, hang on, Rob. You like people to not interrupt you, so I'm gonna.
Go ahead. Sure.
Okay. So I posted the screenshots. You said call in Wednesday or Thursday. You didn't stream on Thursday when I tried to call in, and then I messaged you Thursday night. Told you didn't stream. You never responded. You told your chat, oh, I waited so long. I waited for this guy forever. And then I posted the screenshots. I talked to you about it, and you just blocked me and ran.
Now here we are.
Months later, and I'm still blocked. That channel is still, that account's still blocked. You're still hiding from that account.
You can keep talking, right?
I wasn't done. You just tried to jump in the middle of it.
Please go ahead.
But no, I'm done now. But you just trying to jump in at the end and just trying to like repaint this. So go ahead. Continue, finish.
Here's what happened for the audience to know. You said, yes, I'll call in after I said that I was ending a stream. I waited and waited and waited and waited, and then you gave some excuse why you couldn't call in.
Oh, okay. Right? Well, then let's go to the screenshots.
I'm sorry. Are you
interrupting me? Let me go. Hang on. I got you on my phone, so let's pull up the screenshot on X.
Are you interrupting me?
I will read you the time and date.
Are you interrupting me right now, you sack of shit? Are you interrupting me? Is that what you're doing? I'm sorry. You will sit here and patiently listen until I finish. That's what You'll sit here and patiently listen as you asked for me to do. So I'm going to talk for about 25 minutes here now, and you can sit here and patiently listen, and then I'll respond when you're done. Okay? All right. So
don't cry about me talking in the chat then.
There you go. I asked for you to call in, or you said that you wanted to call in. You were making claims to me. You had a different name than you do now. Okay. You said that you were going to call in. I sat here and waited and waited and waited. You didn't call in, right? So then I was supposed to go downstairs and do stuff with my family. You never called in. I sat here and waited and waited. I got fed up with it, said I'm done. Then you messaged me and asked if I could stream at a different time, right? I said to call in Wednesday. You said that you didn't see me on. You waited up until 1 a.m. You didn't see me go live because I ended up not doing a show Wednesday. And then you claimed that that was somehow me running from you. Right? When in reality, when I gave you the opportunity at least once to call in, that you didn't, you said you were going to, and then you strung me along and didn't. And then when I said you can call in when I do the call-in show Wednesday, and I didn't do the call-in show Wednesday, you then claimed I was a coward and was running from you. So I had no more energy to deal with you after you'd already strung me along once. Now go ahead. You can provide the screenshots that you want. Go for it.
Okay, so we have a small misunderstanding here. So, and your streams will provide the evidence. Did you miss a Wednesday or a Thursday, Rob?
I don't know. I said call in Wednesday or Thursday night.
Well, you're the one that said it, and you're the one that does the stream. So did you miss your Wednesday or Thursday?
Let's check it out. We'll go to the receipts right now.
What week was it?
It was November 1st, 2024, correct?
That's after, sure. It would have been October.
What's the date? You
Okay,
tell
so
me. You
no.
tell me.
So if I'm sending you a message on November 1st
Okay, so then
at 9:35 a.m. and it was the previous night, as the message says, I never saw you on last night. Would that be November, Rob, or is that October? Do you know how our months work?
I do know how our months work.
Okay, so how
October
many
28th
days are in the month of October,
October
Rob?
28th, I said call in.
Are there 28 days in October, Rob?
No, I think there's 31.
Okay, so we are in October. Okay, I just want to make
Okay.
sure. Keep going.
Okay. So then the Wednesday, what was the Wednesday or Thursday? What was the date of those?
Well, given that by context,
Go
would
ahead,
it
what
be the
was it? Oh, wait,
31st
do
to
you
the
know how
30th,
many-
Rob?
Do you know the date? Do you know the dates in October? Do you know them?
Yeah, 31st to
Okay,
the
so
30th. Because if it's November 1st,
31st?
do you know how this works?
I
Do you know how the calendar works? Go ahead and pull me up a calendar, Rob.
Okay.
Tell
So
me
you
after
tell me-
the end of October, what is the first month? What's the numerical first day of the next month? Is it the 7th?
That's not the question that I'm asking.
Oh, well,
let
that's
me
the
give you an
question I'm
example.
asking you to
Let me give you an
respond
example.
because your
Let me
question
give
is
you- no,
absurd. So I'm
let me
asking
give you an
you.
example.
Tell
Let
me,
give you an
Rob,
example.
after
If I'm asking- no,
after
okay, here we
December
go, here we go.
31st, what is
I'll just
next?
mute you. I'll mute you. Right?
After December 31st, what's next?
All right. So if, for example, I said September 6th, I sent you a message and said, I'll be streaming Wednesday or Thursday. What was the Wednesday or Thursday following September 6th? What was the date of it? What was it? Don't you know how months work? Don't you know how days work?
Yeah, I already told you. Remember October
what was it?
30th or
What was the
31st?
Wednesday-
Did you
what
not
was the
like my
Wednesday-
answer,
what
Rob?
was the Wednesday
Did
or
you not
Thursday?
like the answer of the
That's not the
30th or the
question.
31st?
That's
And
not
so
the
now
question.
you're crying
That's
about
not
it?
the question.
Look at the
That's
fucking
not the
message, Rob. What to say?
question.
October
That's
28th.
not the question.
So tell
That's
me
not
what
the question
happens
I
between
used.
October
That's not
28th and
the
November
question.
1st. Do you think there's that many freaking days that I can get this wrong?
That's
You
not the
moron.
question. That's not the question I just asked.
I
What was
know
the
that's
Wednesday
your
or Thursday?
question. Your
What
question is
was
a
the Wednesday?
goddamn purity test at the worst ways. Okay, so
No,
keep
what the
going.
question is, what the question proves is it absurd to
Yeah.
think you got me in some kind of gotcha because I didn't know
Okay.
the exact
Yeah,
day
yeah.
of the month.
Okay,
Again,
yeah.
you
So well,
okay, because I didn't know the exact day of the month that the Wednesday and Thursday following October 28th were. For example, October 28th could have been a Monday. That would mean that the Wednesday and Thursday would be the 30th and 31st. October 28th could have been a Saturday, which would mean that the days of the Wednesday and Thursday, the dates of those would be differently. The importance of me finding those dates are to be able to go to my live stream and the timestamps and the date stamps and see which days I didn't stream. Because you think it's some gotcha that I don't remember some pissant person that was a coward and kept me live streaming late one night because they said they were going to call in. And then after stringing me along for like an hour, didn't call in. Then I gave you another chance to call in. You're acting like, well, the reason you didn't call in was because one of those 2 days that I offered, I didn't live stream, and that's me running from you. And so in order to go back and look and find those dates, I'm asking you what the dates of those were. You're acting like some big man, like, oh, you don't understand how days of the month work? You didn't understand if you said in the 28th, then clearly that meant the 30th and the 31st? No, what I'm saying is no human being, unless it's someone like you who has to live vicariously through someone you're hate streaming, would remember the exact dates of these 2 days of what these Wednesdays and Thursdays were following the 28th in October. Do you understand? That's why I was bringing up can you tell me what the Wednesday and Thursday following September 6th was? Because you can't. Because no normal person would be able to do those things, which proves that your gotcha is bullshit that you're offering to me. Like to respond?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh yeah. So you can tell me what is the 28th of October?
I don't know what day.
Okay, you're in front of a computer. You're not a fucking idiot. Pull up a goddamn calendar. It's the bottom right. Do I need to walk you through it?
No, I'm not.
You've been ranting for 4 fucking minutes.
I will
pull up the fucking calendar and make your point.
I will pull it up when I
pull it up, then, Rob. Instead of making your fucking rant all the time.
No, I'll pull it up.
Find the fucking proof, then.
I don't have to say shit to you. I don't have to do anything. I'll pull it up when I feel like it.
Well, then,
I thought that I didn't realize you would. I didn't realize you would be bad.
Well, then why are we even talking, Rob? If you're not gonna go find the claim and prove it, then what's the point of having this conversation? Just mute me again so you can make your fucking point.
So here's what's funny. Your entire criticism of me in your little screed that you wrote in my YouTube video was that I was unwilling to talk about what originally I said I would talk about this guy when we're streaming. So then when I bring you on to talk about that, you now want to talk about why didn't you stream on October 30th or 31st?
Do you remember how this conversation started? No. You want to have the meta argument. Do you remember how this conversation started?
I do remember how this conversation
started. So how did it start?
You were a coward that wouldn't call in.
No, that's not what happened. Say it again.
I said that you were a coward.
No, try it again, buddy. Tell you
How-
what, like a
tell me how
genie,
it's-
maybe your third wish is the best. So go for it.
I said that you were a coward.
And we
opening
got it
statement.
wrong. Well, let's
Okay,
go
well,
ahead and I'll lay that for you. So I came on and you asked me, was there any channels or anything like that you'd like to call out? And I said, yeah, actually, there is a channel. My other channel I'd like to call out where you fucked me over before. Now we're in a whole argument on this because you, Rob Noor, can't relent a single point to save your goddamn life. And now we're sitting here having this argument. Now you're gonna go have a larger pearl clutching violins like playing moment about, well, the conversation I want to have isn't being had. You're the one that led us into this conversation, man. What are you crying about?
All
You
right,
steered
so
the boat over here.
Your claim is that I did not stream. I said, here's the receipt on October 28th.
No, I'm not talking about some streaming crap. What got us to this conversation right now that you're crying about? What got us here, Rob?
I'm going to repeat what got us here was me saying that you in my opening
No,
statement.
go back in the stream then if you can't pay attention to it and go back and listen to it. The call's not that long.
All right. I said that you were a coward that didn't call in. I said, do you have any streams you want to shout out? You did say, yes, I want to accuse you of me trying to call in. Great. I misrepresented the order of events. It has to do, still going back to the original point of me saying you were a coward that strung me along and wouldn't call in. Then you started making this, oh, October 28th, I got the receipts that October 28th I sent you, right? That you said call in Wednesday or Thursday. So now, okay, October 28th, I've looked on my calendar. October 28th was a Monday. I said I will be streaming Wednesday or Thursday. Call in. Your claim is that I did not stream that Wednesday or Thursday. That would mean October 31st or 30th and 31st, 2024. You're claiming I didn't stream, correct?
It's your life.
Did I stream October 30th and 31st?
You did. You did on one of those days.
I did on one, so I didn't on both. I did on one.
Yes, you did on, and you told me to call in on either one of these days because you're going to be streaming on one of these days. But do you remember the push? Do you remember why you're streaming on one of those days? Do you remember what the thing is?
I don't remember the exact message that I had on
at that time for those weeks. You were pushing on the soon we're going to be doing the 24/7 stream. Do you remember that?
I remember doing the 24/7.
This was you trying to get me to be pulled in on the 24/7 stream, and then you said it'd be through Wednesday through Thursday night. You were never on Thursday night. So I didn't stream, and mine wasn't available for you on Wednesday because we both have lives. So
I didn't stream.
I don't know what the heck you want from me, man. And then you sat there, came to your audience, and cried about how I ran from you, I avoided you, I'm a coward. And then when the same tactic, the same thing you did to me, gets turned back in reverse on you, all of a sudden your ego's so hurt, and I need to come on your show immediately.
So you're claiming I didn't stream. I did not stream on October 31st, 2024.
You didn't?
Okay. Come and join us on the Heap Prepping 24-hour show, 10/31/24. You're a liar.
Well, then why didn't you reply to the chat? The message.
Because I'm tired of dealing with a liar like you. Why did you don't know how searching on YouTube works? You couldn't figure it out. You sat here and ran your mouth. You definitively said that I didn't stream that day, and all you had to do was a quick search, and you just sat here and lied and ran your mouth? Can you explain why you did that?
Wait a minute. Hang on. What'd you say in the stream? When'd you do it?
I don't know. I streamed the Thursday.
Wait a minute. No, it matters because we're 3 hours apart from each other. You're on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast. We've had these problems in the past. So you streaming, in fact, you and I have had back and forth in the past because I said you were streaming at 6 a.m. one morning. You're like, no, I'm not. But you're streaming at 9 a.m. your time. You're too stupid to realize that the person calling out you for streaming at 6 a.m. is on the West Coast. So when did you stream on the 31st, Rob? Did you do it after I sent you the message, Rob?
It is irrelevant to the comment you just said. You just definitively said that I did not stream on the 31st. That's a lie. Now you're saying,
when did you stream?
But the stream had to be at a time that was convenient for you.
Yes, because you said Wednesday or Thursday night.
When did you say in our exchange? When did you say what time?
No, wait. Yes, it has to be convenient for me because your message says Wednesday or Thursday night, Rob. Yes, you have to stay consistent with the words you used previously. Is that so freaking hard for you to understand?
Is it so hard for you to understand? You just definitively said I didn't
No,
stream on
answer
the
the
31st.
question. Is
Admit
that
that you're
hard
a
for you to
liar.
understand?
Admit
That
that
you
you're a
have to be
liar.
consistent
Admit
with
that you're
what
a
you said
liar.
previously.
Admit
So
that you're
when
a
did you
liar.
do that stream, Rob?
Admit that you're a
When
liar.
did you
That
do
I
the
didn't
stream, Rob?
admit that you're. I'll answer
When
your
did you do the
question.
stream?
I will answer
I'll
your
admit when
question.
you admit when you
I
did the stream, Rob.
don't know what time it was that I did the stream.
Okay, well then what's your freaking point then, little
Well, you
bitch boy?
okay,
You don't
I
know
answered you.
goddamn shit.
I
For all
answered
you know, you
I
literally,
answered you. You're
you
just going to talk
literally
over me.
said,
I answered you. Now you're just going to talk over. Will you admit that you are a liar when you said I didn't stream on the 31st?
no, I am
You
not
lied.
admitting to jack shit.
So then you're standing by your comment that I did not stream on the 31st.
Did you stream on the 31st of the night like you claimed you did?
I have no idea. You said that I didn't stream on
I
the 31st.
said the night.
No, you didn't. You said I
Yeah,
didn't
I
stream
said
on the
because
31st.
my
No,
message
you
literally
didn't.
says you
No,
didn't
you
stream.
didn't.
And in
We
regards to the
just we
context
just
of
went through here.
responding to you saying that
just
you're going to be
went
on
through
at
here.
night. So you are not,
All right. So just to let you know what happens, he just said here.
you're not going to say,
Okay, so just so you know what happens here, what happened was he definitively said that I didn't stream on the 31st on this channel. That's what he said. He just said it, right? Then when I prove actually I did stream the 31st, now he's saying, I won't admit that I was wrong. I won't admit that was a lie because you may have streamed earlier in the day than at night. And so that doesn't count. That's what's going on. Furthermore, the further conversation that we're having here is I gave you multiple opportunities to call in. I said, call in Wednesday or Thursday night. You're now acting like I ran from you because maybe, I don't even know if it's true.
what's the message say?
I may have streamed that Thursday night. I have no idea what the time was. I didn't go back and watch the video. I do see that I did stream on that Thursday. I don't know if it was during the day or night, but what this caller is saying that when he one time I offered to have him call in and he said, yes, I'll call in later tonight. Then he lied and he had me stay on an hour or so after when I originally intended to go on. Then I still, instead of saying, you know what, fuck you, I'm never talking to you because you lied and had me stay on an hour and blatantly lied. I said, sure, you could call in Wednesday or Thursday night. I streamed Wednesday. I streamed Thursday. He didn't call in Wednesday night. Now he's claiming, well, when I originally said you didn't stream Thursday, I was wrong about that, but I won't admit I was wrong. But maybe you streamed early in the day and it was too early for me. And you said Thursday night. So therefore you lied when you said you would stream Wednesday or Thursday night. We don't even know if it was Thursday night or Thursday during the day, but it's clear that he was wrong that I didn't stream Thursday. So can you explain to me now what was so egregious that I gave you multiple opportunities to call in? You didn't, including one opportunity. You said, yes, if you stay on later, I'll call in. If you stay in later, I'll call. Can you explain to me? You could say your piece here in a second. Can you explain to me when I gave you multiple opportunities, including
I'm not explaining anything to you. We're still going over this point. I'm not
staying on an hour late, to which you led me to believe that you were going to call in only to say, never mind, I'm not calling in. Can you explain to me what was so egregious I did when I still gave you multiple opportunities?
sure. Can you explain the hours?
Can you explain to me why it's so egregious that I gave you multiple opportunities after that? Go ahead.
You gave me multiple opportunities because you failed on the first one.
What was the first one? The one where you said, yes, I'll call in, and then you had me stay an extra hour on and then didn't call in?
The first one was when you said that you would be streaming Wednesday or Thursday night, like your message does.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not the
Well,
first
then go
one.
ahead and pull up the screenshot of them.
Okay, so what comes first when you said you were going to stay on live or asked me to stay on live because you were going to call in, that I waited like an hour? And then after that, when I said you could call in Wednesday or Thursday, chronologically, which of those two things came first?
Oh, which one was it? I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. I was laughing.
The first time that you called on, I said, hey, I'm going to wrap up the stream.
This is the first time I called on. This is the first time.
The first time that you said you were going to call on, you said you did something that these trolls always do, where they say, no, I'll call on. Give me a minute. After I say, okay, I'm ending the show. So then I stick around. I'm like, okay, this guy's going to call in. Let's give him a chance. That'll be cool. I stay 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30, 35 minutes. And then you ended up saying, then you ended up saying, no, I'm not calling on. Right. So I was pissed off about that. I made a big point of saying, pisses me off when people do that. Like, I have a limited amount of time to stream. If people say, yeah, I'm about to come on, and then they're lying to me, that pisses me off. Despite that, after that, you said, hey, I'm Shipwreck Demon from YouTube. I'd love to have that chat with you. The reason you're saying that chat with you is because we had this previous interaction when you said you were going to call in and didn't. Can you explain to me why you said I would love to have that talk with you if we never did? You said, let's schedule a time to talk. I hear you will be back Wednesday. Sounds great. Let's schedule something after that time. I said, call in Wednesday or Thursday night. You then say, I never saw you on last night. Waited up till 1 a.m. Guess I'll see you around. Then a month later, you're like, why not talk to me? Why pretend you aren't running from the talk? Jump on, you coward. Tonight, let's talk. Bury that. Now, you sent me that what's December 23rd? Let's look at that. So 2 days before Christmas, you wanted me to talk to you. So let's check the old calendar. December 23rd is a Monday night. Let's see if I streamed that Monday night. I did not. So I did not stream from 12/20/24. Monday night, I would have been at work. So Mondays, it's near impossible for me to stream. So you accuse me of being a coward because I wouldn't jump on with you 2 days before Christmas while I was at work. I respond to you, move on. I've given you several opportunities to call in. You pretended you would, had me wait around, and then backed out. I offered more opportunities. Now you demand I talk to you tonight, knowing I work every Monday night, or I'm a coward. My life will be just fine. Sorry you're desperate for attention. Hope you'll find someone that'll give it to you. Well, I guess you got the attention that you wanted. So can you explain why I'm a coward? Because I didn't call in to talk to you on December 23rd, a Monday night when you know that I work.
Are you just going to direct the conversation how you want to and never actually make any relents or talk about anything that we're talking about?
No, I will.
Are you not going to engage with anything I'm saying?
I absolutely will.
So why'd you have me call in if you're just guiding the conversation how you want to and never engaging in whatever anything I say?
Talking about anything when I bring up a point like the obvious thing you said definitively. You did not stream October 31st. And then what we see is you continually have to interrupt me as I'm making the point on my show. So again, I'll give you a chance to talk unfettered. But when you say something definitive like you did not stream on the 31st, you did not do it. You make a big rigmarole of how could you not understand how to use a calendar? You couldn't understand it, blah, 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 blah. Then we go there and I see it. You won't say, oh, I was mistaken. You did stream on the 31st. My mistake. But do you know what time you streamed that day? No, you won't say that. You're like, no, I'll correct nothing. And you continually just filibuster and scream over me. That's what's going on. So much so you realized when I hit this mute button, you could unmute yourself. So then I have to remove you from the screen like this just so I can get a word in. So I'll ask you again, can you explain why I'm a coward? Because I didn't call in and stream with you on a night that I'm working on Monday night, which you know full well that I work Monday nights.
Actually, I don't know that your work schedule. Do you know mine?
No, but I don't watch
you stream. So wait, do you not know my work schedule? So why are you asking me if I know yours?
Because I don't hate watch you and comment and everyone.
Well, then why the fuck? No. I don't fucking know your life. When do you work? What's your hours today, Rob? What do you work today? When do you eat dinner tonight, Rob? When do you eat little dinner yesterday? When are you going to work in?
How many of my live streams do you watch?
Never any on time.
Okay, but how many do you watch on a week, average?
I don't know. Why?
I would say,
and I'm not going to answer the point.
Is it a healthy portion of them?
No, I'm not going to answer the question.
Okay, you don't have to answer the question. So then you can see everyone who watches me knows I've said routinely in my shows over and over and over again. Yeah, I can't do debates or anything like that almost any Mondays, Tuesdays, because my normal work schedule is I work Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night every week. I'm there 24/7. Then I get off Wednesday in the afternoon. Some weeks, every other week, I work Saturday evenings. That's why I rarely schedule debates when it comes to Saturday night, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's why it doesn't happen, right? Oh, there's Pisco. By the way, congratulations to Pisco, who ran from a debate with me so he could face Alex Stein instead. Him in modern day debates, great chance. Give it up, everyone. Pisco. Good job taking the hard debate there with Alex Stein. Good work. All right. So who do you think would have a better understanding of knowing someone's schedule? You, who watches 80% of my videos, or me, who's never heard of you?
Do you have any streams you ever do on a Monday?
Yes, sometimes I do them mobile.
Okay, so your point isn't as consistent as you want it to be, right?
No, it's very clear because I start almost every.
So you never stream on Monday.
Are you going to let me finish? I didn't.
You either do stream on Monday or you do stream on Monday sometimes, Rob.
Again, if you let me finish, what I said was not that I never stream on Mondays. It was that I never take debates or anything then because I can only stream on mobile. If you go and you look at my Monday streams, you'll see almost every single one of them are on mobile. I talk about it all the time. I would gather that 90% of the audience that watches a healthy portrait of me knows that I wouldn't. Yeah, real quick, let me remove him. Okay, I'm being a little tongue-in-cheek with Pisco. Yeah, Pisco, actually, I need to get the details with you because Modern Day Debates basically lied to me. They reached out to me Monday and said that they offered you a debate with me. And I was like, cool, Friday sounds good. Can you get back to me to confirm? And they said, we're still waiting to hear from Pisco. What day, Pisco, did you tell them back? Because I then was like, hey, I'm trying to set my schedule. Can you let me know? I said that Monday night and I didn't hear anything back. So I assumed, all right, well, the debate's probably not going to happen because Pisco never got back to them. But then when I found out that Pisco puts on his public X file, how about that? His public X, he says, hey, I'll be debating Alex Stein on Modern Day Debate Friday at 8. So then I reached out to Modern Day Debate and I'm like, what the fuck? So what day did you get back to them, Pisco, is the question I have. And I'm being a dick to Pisco. He did the smart thing. He took the debate that will probably be easier. And even if you don't think it's easier, and I like Alex, don't get me wrong, it's certainly with a bigger audience. So I would probably have done the same. If there was an offer for me to debate Pisco or, Sam Cedar in the same night, I'd probably pick Sam Cedar. So I'm just being tongue in cheek with Pisco. But let me know when you can, Pisco, which day you got back to them. All right, I'm running from you on Holy Crap. There we go. I was talking to my friend Pisco. He actually puts, stuff out there. He makes content unlike you. It's interesting.
Sure. That's actually, I like Pisco stuff. So yeah.
I'm sure you do. So yes, Mondays I sometimes do stream, but it's mobile and almost everyone who watch me knows. That's why I say I can't take debates on Monday nights, Tuesday nights, because I can't, through the mobile, I can't take calls.
So Rob, I did find proof of my claim.
What claim? Go ahead.
That you were not streaming on the 31st at night like you claimed you were.
I didn't say that I claimed I was. I claimed that I streamed on the 31st. I said I didn't know what time of the day.
But you said you would stream at night, which is what our messages said.
In the message, I did say that I would be
streaming
meet up
with you at night.
Thursday. I said that call in Wednesday or Thursday night. That is what I said. Yes.
So on that day, if you go through because you have some of the super chats on the right side of the screen, you can actually see on the 31st they are wishing you a good morning. So you did not stream that night as you claimed to me you would be.
Well,
and then when I reached out to you about it, you didn't respond. And then when I was questioning you about it now, you went all the way back to the 25th and used that as your reasoning for why you lied, manipulated, and completely played this game.
I didn't lie, manipulate. What happened was you're a nobody who already strung me along once where I stayed like an hour late onto our chat because you said you were going to call in. You didn't. So I'll treat you like anyone else that if they want to call in during my show, they can. Normally my schedule was I stream Wednesday, Thursday nights. I said, sure, call in Wednesday, Thursday night. I streamed Wednesday. I assume that was in the evening. I streamed Thursday. For whatever reason, I guess I streamed during the day that Thursday, if that's what the super chats are saying. That's not me misleading you. You could have called in Wednesday. You chose not to. Thursday, I streamed during the day as opposed to the evening. You didn't say, yes, I'll definitively call in Thursday night. Let's set up a time. You didn't say that. I don't need to ask permission from people that may be callers into the show, whether or not I could change the time of when my stream is. You then called me a coward because I wouldn't call in and bury the hatchet with you on December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas.
Sorry, Rob.
2 days before Christmas when it was a Monday and I was at work, as you well knew, that I never take streams on Monday because I have to do them do debates on Monday because
you never do a stream on Monday.
No, because I don't do debates.
No, because you don't do streams. That's what you said. You don't do the show.
That's not true. If I said that,
it is. Go back and look at it. Go back and look at your
When did I say that?
You didn't say that?
When did I say it? When? Like just 3 seconds ago when I accidentally said stream instead of calls and debates? Is that what you mean? Like 3 seconds ago? Yes. I slipped of the tongue and said I don't stream. I mean take calls.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a slip of the tongue. You said it. It doesn't matter, man. You said the words, okay? Stand by the word you said. Don't sit there and run and cry and be like, it was a small mistake. You're holding destiny over a quote from 4 years ago.
I slipped up and said it's a small mistake, said stream. Will you admit that you lied when you said I didn't stream October 31st? Will you admit it? Don't run from it. Will you admit you're a liar? You lied when you said I didn't stream October 31st. Will you admit that?
The only way that would happen is if you admitted you lied first.
Okay, so he's unwilling to admit it. So what I just said there was, yes, I slipped the tongue and said I don't stream. I mean, take calls or whatever Monday. He says, oh, you said stream. You said stream. See, you lied. You said stream. But when he said that he went back and looked and I didn't stream October 31st, that was a lie. And now he's unwilling to admit it.
Why was that said?
It was said because you said that I didn't. I don't know. You tell me what's in your mind. Why did you say I didn't stream October 31st?
Well, if you're making the arguments against the point, you must know why I said it.
Will you admit it was a lie?
Well, I'm still asking you, why was that said?
Will you admit it was a lie?
I'm still trying to figure out if it was or not.
Did I stream October 31st?
Is that what I said?
You said that I did not stream on Thursday, October 31st.
Okay, so what was that in regards to?
Did you lie when you said that I didn't stream?
What is the context of this?
Okay. He's unwilling to admit his lie, and there you see it. So he wants to hold me to account when I slip up and say, I usually don't stream. I mean, do debates with people. He says, you said stream. You said stream. But when he blatantly says I didn't stream October 31st, he says, why did I say that? Why did I say that? Blah, 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 blah. Will you admit that you lied when you said I didn't stream October 31st?
Will you admit you lied about?
Will you admit that you lied when you said I didn't stream October 31st?
Will you admit that you lied about?
Okay, there we have it. Now, if he wants, we can come on and we can talk. So you hear what this whole thing's about. Guy calls in, end of my stream, or text in, end of my stream. Yeah, I'll call in. Just give me a minute. I streamed for like half hour, an hour late after I said I was ending my stream. Okay. Never calls in. So I'm pissed about it. Then he chats me, hey man, let's bury the hatchet. Let's have a chat sometime. I say, sure, call him Wednesday, Thursday night. I stream Wednesday night. He doesn't call in. I stream Thursday, which he claims I never streamed Thursday. Turns out I streamed earlier in the day. Then a month later, he's like, why aren't you talking to me? Why pretend you're not running? Jump on, you coward, tonight on December 23rd, which is a day that I'm working. That's it. That's what his whole fucking spiel's about. Will you admit that you lied when you said I didn't stream October 31st?
Do you want to switch subjects?
Sure, I'm happy to talk about the screed that you met
Yeah,
when you
no,
about last night. All right,
here's
you want to go through it? Do you want to go through it from the beginning?
I'm sorry. I'm really actually trying not to talk over you. So I'm sorry if I'm doing it.
It's okay. Do you want to start at the beginning? That's all I'm asking.
Yeah. So the very first, I'll go by timestamps. The very first timestamp.
No, wait. Well, let's just read. What you could read or me, it doesn't matter who. Just start at the beginning of what you said, right? I could put it on screen too if you want.
Sure. Hang on, give me a sec. Give me a sec. I gotta go back to my computer. I'm walking around the house.
I could read it if you want, and you tell me if you think I'm misreading. I'm gonna put.
I would rather myself read it if you don't mind.
That's fine by me.
It is my words. Not to be rude.
But when I ask you to pause, we'll pause. Is that fair? I'm not gonna do it every 3 seconds.
I have to finish the paragraph.
Okay.
Well, a point isn't a point, and if you want to jump in the middle of it and stamp something down.
Some of these we would argue could be multiple points in one paragraph, like when you have multiple timestamps. But fair enough. You finish the paragraph, then we'll talk. Go ahead, read paragraph 1.
Okay. So much of what Rob said, or so much of Rob just confuses me. I figured I would make a longer post with timestamps to show his idiocy on this one. At 11 minutes, Rob scheduled this debate publicly for a Wednesday. Don't know what dimension he lives in because the date of this debate is on Thursday. Today is Friday, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. This happened yesterday. So this is usually where Rob leaves out his private combos and what goes down in these combos, because it will affect his ability to spin a narrative later. Also worth noting, he didn't even stream on Wednesday. Since Rob says he scheduled the debate for it on Wednesday, but Rob never streamed at this, this happened on a Thursday. I'm betting that Rob had to reschedule, so he contacted him privately. So Rob rescheduled the debate. He set the debate for, or he rescheduled the debate he set the date for. Then he jumped on with his audience and accused his opponent of not showing up before the official meeting time even. And I'll be shocked if going forward, Rob actually makes arguments for why Destiny is for censorship of fascist right-wingers, because it sounds like he's just hoping no one shows. And I was also wondering if Rob even told the guy he wasn't even streaming on Wednesday, and if the guy just showed up and ran with it.
Okay, so your claim is most likely what happened was that I rescheduled it.
Well, do you mind if I say something? I'm not making a claim. Do you understand that?
No, you are making a claim.
No, I'm the one saying the words. I'm not making a claim.
I let you read that unfettered. You said this is where Rob.
No, I'm the one making. I'm Rob. Okay, I'm sorry.
Let me finish. You say this is where Rob leaves out his private convos and what goes down because it'll affect his ability to spend. Also worth noting, he didn't even stream today. Since Rob says it was scheduled for Wednesday, but Rob never streamed it happened on Thursday. I am betting that Rob had to reschedule, so he contacted him privately. So Rob rescheduled the debate he set for the date.
You have to reset it. We just said it. We just said this.
But now you're lying. You're saying I didn't make a claim. I didn't make it. That's you saying I'm betting this is what happened, and then you're definitively saying Rob rescheduled up and his opponent of not showing up before the time. So before we go any further, apologies to Joe Ever. There's nothing. But please let me finish. Apologies to Joe Ever. There's nothing in this log that I think he could raise any objection to. If he does raise objection to later, I will apologize. But we'll get ready for you to eat crow here. So. Here we are. Here's my private chat. This is from Wednesday at 11:39 a.m. from Joe Ever. Hey, my travel date for work was moved up today, so I will not be able to call in today at 7 p.m. Are you streaming any other day? I would still like to chat if interested. Let me know. I hope you have a nice day. I, at 11:45, 6 minutes later, said, sure, tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thanks. I appreciate you for being flexible. No problem. Will you admit that you were wrong and apologize?
Yes, sir. And I'm sorry.
Thank you. So
Do you mind if I
your
wait?
entire first paragraph is bullshit.
Wait. I said something. Do you mind if you said yours? I said I apologize, like you asked.
Okay.
Okay. So I will admit to being wrong here, but I'm going to say something else. You did the same thing to him that you did to me. You set a date. You said you were streaming on that day. You didn't stream.
That's
All
not
right.
true. What happened
Did,
was
did you stream yesterday?
let me
No,
explain.
no,
Okay, let me explain.
no. I don't care about the
Let
explanation.
me
Did you
explain. Let me
stream
explain
yesterday?
that way. I had
I
a
don't care.
plan.
Did you stream?
I did not. I had a planned stream with
Okay,
him.
so you didn't. So I'm right.
No, this is
Can you
what
say
happened.
that I'm right?
You're not right. Right?
So
you're
you
right
did.
you're right that technically I didn't stream. The reason I didn't stream was I had a planned stream with this guy and he canceled. That is not the same as what happened with you. You're wrong when you're saying it's the same.
Okay. I don't really care about about your personal
so
subjective interpretation of whether it's
can
the
you
same or
explain to
not.
me? Can you explain to me what? Can you explain to me?
I can admit to being wrong as long as you can admit this.
Can you explain to me what's wrong about me having a pre-planned debate with someone, them saying, can we reschedule it, and then me not streaming because the idea I had for the stream wasn't occurring because the planned show couldn't occur because the guest wasn't there? Can you explain to me what's untoward, wrong, somehow to be criticized with that?
Yeah, because you didn't make it out to be like this stream wouldn't happen if he didn't show. You made it out to be the stream is happening. Call in. I'd love to have you on.
That's not what happened at all. What my interaction
So
with
why
him
don't
was
you go read?
my interaction with him was completely different than my interaction with you. My interaction with him was one of cordiality, although there were simple jabs that occurred on X. He offered to call in. I graciously said, yes, that will be the point. It'll be a debate between me and him. Sounds good. My interaction with you was during a show where it wasn't planning on having a debate or a call in. I said, I'm winding up the show. You said, no, I'll call in. I said, great. I stuck around for a long time afterwards, waiting for you to call in, to which you then admitted that you weren't going to call in. Then I was pissed. I have no time of day for people that waste my time like that. So instead of setting up a debate with you like I did with him or I would with Pisco or someone else that says, yes, debate scheduled 8 p.m. on Wednesday. I said, if you want to call in while I'm streaming, fine. I'll be streaming Wednesday or Thursday nights. That's it. That is different. Setting up a pre-planned debate with someone is different than allowing someone to call in who's already strung you along and admitted that they're bad and shown that they're bad faith by having me stay after I was supposed to end my stream and waste my time by saying they would call in and then not. Completely two different scenarios.
I was just making a comparison. I'm not going to go back and argue the last hour with you. I know that's like your thing you like to do, but I'm not doing it.
So your whole first paragraph
going forward,
paragraph?
please. I'd love to go forward. I don't want to sit there for an hour, man.
Second
I don't want to
paragraph,
sit here for an hour.
your first paragraph was complete bullshit. Let's go. Second
No,
paragraph.
it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, I'll admit to being wrong. I'm not admitting to it being bullshit. As well as you need to admit you didn't stream on Wednesday as you claimed you would be. I didn't
stream on Wednesday. The person I was supposed to stream with asked me
but you didn't say that you were waiting for them to do the stream. You said call in because you will be streaming. Not that you wouldn't be streaming unless they did.
All right, let's see, since you seem to know so, but can you show me where I said that? Can you show me in my conversation with Joe Ever where I said the whole point was like I don't understand before I leave. Like this criticism is insane. I told the guy, he's like, hey, want to have a conversation? When's the next time you'll be streaming? I said Wednesday at 7. He says, sounds good. So that was my plan. Cool. Wednesday at 7, I'll be talking about this guy. Guy says, can we reschedule? I say, how about tomorrow at 7? He says, good. Now you can see the title of the video yesterday was all about debating this guy. That's what it was about. That was the intent. Now this guy's criticism of me is like, okay, I was wrong. It was actually him that rescheduled and not you. But you didn't stream and you misled your audience and Joe because you said you would be streaming anyways. Wait, what utter crock of shit? Which is a complete asinine shit. What are you talking about?
Huh? What?
Move on to the second paragraph?
I quit listening.
Good. Moving on to the second paragraph?
No, I'm not moving on. I quit listening because you're ranting again.
You don't want to move on to the second paragraph?
Is there any way that I can say something? And if you don't like what I have to say, you're not going to mute me anymore?
Sure, you could say something. I'll only mute you if you're jumping in.
You just did it right there. I waited until you were done talking, and the moment I started speaking, you muted me and went off on your audience again.
Say your point.
You're going to keep doing that, Rob? Because you've been doing it a few times.
Say your point.
Okay. Rob, the words you say matter as far as how you schedule things. I don't know if you're a kid or an adult. I don't know if maybe this is a VR and Rob Noor is actually 8 years old. But if you say, I'm going to go out to the bar Thursday, feel free to join me, bud. And then that friend doesn't come out. Guess what? I'm still at the bar because I said, feel free to join me because I'm already doing that. I'm telling him my plans in ahead of advance so he can join me. You're just playing games right now. You're like, oh, I was streaming on Wednesday, but if he doesn't show, I'm going to completely cancel Wednesday. And I will admit to being wrong on that, which I've at least got the balls enough to do. You can't even admit to being wrong on that, though. And your what you have to bite here is so much smaller than mine, but you can't even do that.
Can you tell me what the conversation I was with Joe Ever when we scheduled this debate?
No.
So wait a minute. How are you definitively saying what I said to him and how I was wrong and misleading him when you have no idea what my conversation with him was?
Well, I do have a conversation. I have an idea. You just showed it to us 24 hours ago, but
So
no, I'm speaking. Just let you just shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ.
Not going to listen, tell me to shut the fuck up. I let you go on a screed. I asked you a simple question. You answered, and then I responded. You just had a long group of time to talk. So he's saying, what I did was unethical because I said, I'm going out to the bar, and if you'd like to join me, then fine. And so that's what I did that was wrong. I told Joe Ever, I'm going out to the bar, and if you'd like to join me, that's fine. And yet he has no clue what my conversation with Joe Ever was. None.
Oh, so did you not tell Joe that you would be streaming on Wednesday?
I did.
Oh, so did you say, I'll be streaming on Wednesday if you're on? Or if you're on, I'll be streaming on Wednesday?
No, I didn't say that. I
Oh,
said
so
I'll be
the way
streaming on
that you
Wednesday.
the way that you structured your sentence means a certain freaking thing. I was right then.
Do you know what the rest of my conversation with Joe Ever was? Did I tell him
I don't
to DM
care
me
what the
for a
rest of the
link?
conversation
Did
is
I
because
tell him
as
to
you were
DM me?
saying
Did I tell him to DM me for a link? I did tell him to DM me for a link, right? The point that I'm trying to make is normally I stream on Wednesdays. So I come up with an idea for the show that I'm going to do at some point before that. I've been having some long work days. So sometimes I come up with the idea for a show 5 minutes before. The idea for the show I had since Monday when I talked to Joe Ever, when he agreed, when I said, hey, he said, let me talk to you. I said, I stream Wednesday. He said, great. That was the show. The show was I would be streaming with Joe Ever. Joe Ever then messaged me previous to that show and said, I can't do it Wednesday. He clearly intended to call in Wednesday. I can't do it Wednesday. Can we reschedule? I said, sure. How about tomorrow? The next day, I titled my video, Debating a Destiny Fan on what Destiny said. It was clear that that was my idea for the show. Somehow Unholy Raft wants to make this about a criticism of me, that I am somehow a liar or misleading, etc. Because me and Joe Ever had an agreement to have a debate on Wednesday. Joe Ever couldn't do it. I said, that's fine. And then I decided to spend time with my family Wednesday night instead of streaming. He's making some point that this somehow proves my words matter. I misled people. It is unbelievably stupid and vapid. And I'm glad that he's spending so much time. I've given him multiple opportunities to move on to the substance of what this conversation was. He doesn't want to. And it just goes to show, if we ever get to move on to the substance, that he has no real criticism, that it's all bullshit like this. Would you like to move on to the next section?
Are you ready to relent your point?
Go, you start talking about what you want. Go ahead.
No, are you ready to relent your point?
Relent what point?
The point you were just making to me when we were last talking, because I am not listening to your rant anymore.
Okay, if you're not listening, we'll end it here.
No.
Good enough? Okay, thanks so much. So there's the point. Now, I'll give you one more chance. You can say what you want. If you're not listening to me, then I'll repeat myself if you like. If you choose to not listen to what I'm saying, then I guess we have nothing to talk about.
Okay. So I would love to
move on
move
to the
on.
next section, or do you want me to repeat what I said since you didn't listen? No, I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to leave you respond when you didn't listen to what my response was. I'm not going to listen to it.
Okay.
If you would like me to repeat my response, I can.
Fair enough.
Do you want me to repeat my response and you'll listen this time?
Was your response anything new, or was it just things you said before?
I don't know. Would you like me to repeat it, and then you can make that
You
judgment?
just said it. What do you mean you don't know what you just said?
I don't know what you'll consider. I think that there was new context on what I said.
Can you just give me the new context then?
Sure, I'll repeat everything that I said. Ready? You'll
Okay,
sit there
yeah.
patiently. So what
Okay.
happened was this is a person criticizing what I'm saying to someone, and he doesn't even know the full extent of what our conversation was. He's trying to make a big deal out of this, that I usually schedule my shows. Like I have a same sort of time frame that I usually schedule, but I come up with the idea for my show sometimes before that show. So oftentimes, if I work or something, I'll come up with the idea of a show maybe 20 minutes before I title the show, and that's what I do, right? And this particular day, I had planned for days that this show, once it was agreed that this person was calling in Sunday night, that's what the show would be about. It's evident that that's what Joe Ever thought, because in his message DM, he said, hey, I can't do it tonight. So it's clear that both of us were on the same page, that the show Wednesday night at 7 p.m. would be Joe Ever calling in. By the way, this is markedly different than the interaction I had with Unholy Raft previously, which was I said call in Wednesday or Thursday, and he didn't say,
Come on,
yes,
man,
I'll
please.
call in
You said you
Wednesday.
would new
Please,
stuff.
please. That he didn't say, yes, I'll call in Wednesday. Yes, I'll call
I
in
thought we
Thursday.
agreed to move on from this.
Nonetheless, right? So we get to
I thought we agreed to move on from this.
last chance, interrupt me again, but we'll just put you back behind the scene again.
You agreed to move on to it.
Okay. So nonetheless, then what we can see happening is once Joe Ever reached out to me and said, yeah, actually, I can't do it. Can we do it tomorrow? I said, yes. Then I said, well, I don't have an idea for the show Wednesday night. How about I just spend time with my family? To be quite honest, I still intended to stream Wednesday night, but I got to doing things with my family. Unholy Raft's large point here is something about I did something worth criticizing because I misled people in the context of this debate where I allowed this guy to reschedule and then did the debate that was rescheduled, but that's somehow still misleading. It's a completely like absurd point. Did you listen to me that time?
I did.
You didn't?
I did. I did. I
Okay.
did.
Okay. Now you can respond.
Okay. So earlier you did tell me that you would not be muting me in the middle of me saying something if you're I think
unless you're interrupting
me. Okay. Fair. You literally just did it right there.
You were interrupting me.
Okay. You were literally okay, whatever. I'm trying, and I did say, unlike you, that I'm actively trying to not to, and I've apologized for interrupting you, which is something you haven't done to me. So, I would love to move on with this conversation. The only problem is, I'm not going to move on until you've relented that simple point. Because I've apologized, but you won't relent your simple point.
What point would you like me to relent?
That you totally did not have a stream going Wednesday as you said you were.
When did I say it was going to have a stream Wednesday?
You had no stream happening Wednesday at all.
I will
You canceled your stream, even though you told someone it would be happening beforehand. Sorry, I cut you off.
I will admit that I didn't stream Wednesday. However, what you're trying to imply, no. What you're trying to imply is that I did something.
I'm not talking about what bad faith.
Please. What you're trying to imply is that I did something unethical, untoward to some degree, right? I told this guy that I intended to stream Wednesday night. He contacted me and said he will be a guest Wednesday night. That was the plan for the show Wednesday night. He contacted me and said, I can't do it Wednesday night. Can we reschedule? I said, how about Thursday? He said, yes, we did the debate Thursday. Because of that, I didn't feel like I owed it to someone to stream Wednesday night and that I was screwing them over by changing my schedule because the person that I was supposed to stream with had already said, I can't do it and I'm rescheduling. Nothing I did is untoward. I am allowed as a streamer to have a pre-planned stream, and when that stream cancels, then not go ahead with the stream. Who did I screw over? Who did I do something unethical to by not streaming Wednesday night?
Nobody and no one.
So then what the point you're trying to make is you just want me to admit, hey, can you admit you didn't stream Wednesday night? Yes.
Yeah, I did say multiple times. Hang on. I'm talking. I'm trying to talk. I did say multiple times. I have admitted, and to mine being wrong, yours is a much smaller pill that you have to swallow, and yet you're arguing heads and freaking tails on this very small pill you have to swallow for some reason.
I'm not.
Like, I'm taking mine up the ass. You have to just take a little bitty tiny thing, and you won't even do that.
Imagine this. I say, you're a fucking rapist, and you assault women. And I know it. And also, you didn't stream Monday night. And you're like, whoa. And you say, I'm forced to admit, okay, I apologize. You're not a racist, and you don't insult women. But will you at least, I'm not going to say that was all bullshit, because will you admit you didn't stream Monday night? And you'd be like, yeah, I guess you're right. I didn't stream. Right. So my paragraph wasn't bullshit.
Is
That's what
is
you're doing.
no is me saying that that you might have actually canceled your stream the same as saying that you were a rapist?
No, two things are different, but both are like, okay, if I say that you, if,
Dude,
yes, any
for
two
real,
things,
what was the point of that? You compared
point
me you compared the whole thing to a rape. What was the point?
I don't think I said assaulting women. One, secondly,
You did
right,
go back and replay your stream.
I said
Jesus Christ.
racist and assaulting women.
Racist. So
Yes.
is racist equivalent to me just saying that you can't you cancel your stream or something like this? This is the same thing to you?
No two things are exactly
Okay,
the
so
same.
why are you
again,
drawing
will remove you as you interrupt me? No two things are exactly the same. I was pointing out a hyperbolic response to say you could say someone accusing them of negative actions with a benign statement in between there. Rob's name is Rob, and also he lies about when he streams. And I say, I didn't lie about when I stream. Okay, but your name is Rob, right? So I wasn't wrong about everything I said in that paragraph. That's what's going on. You're trying to say in that paragraph that I did something sketchy. You're admitting that I didn't do something sketchy, but you're trying to, instead of just admitting it, you're like, but will you admit that you didn't stream Wednesday night? Yes.
As long as you admitted that it was hyperbolic, I don't care.
There's nothing untoward about me not streaming Wednesday night at
As
all.
long as you admit to your stuff is hyperbolic, I'm fine with it. Because that was it right there. You said it, and I'm good with that.
Will you admit that it was hyperbolic, but the analogy applies and that it shows
I've already swallowed my pill, and I'm already swallowed my pill, and I'm ready to go to the next point.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are. So there we go. You wasted like 30 minutes on that nothingness. Next paragraph. Go ahead. Now you're going to read the whole paragraph, then we'll discuss it afterwards. Go for it.
All righty. So Rob says he will look for evidence to prove his claim of what Destiny said at 1745. While he does this, he wants to explore a counterclaim made in the rebuttal. Worth noting that even in collegiate debates, following this conversation is an important part, Rob. Before we leave this, timestamp pieces of the counterclaim inside the rebuttal. At 2245, Rob claims that his opponent has no evidence to support his counterclaim, which is interesting that although Rob made the very first claim in the combo at 1745, he chose not to provide evidence for that claim. Instead, he's attacking his opponent for not having evidence of a counterclaim. Right after this, his opponent even notes that Rob hasn't provided evidence. Rob does click his keyboard and move his mouse, but he goes right back to arguing. In fact, if you'd love to, you can click those little timestamps there, and you can show you just clicking the mouse and moving the keyboard, but we never get the evidence for like 20 minutes.
Okay, one, what was the counterclaim?
Ace, what was the counterclaim inside of the rebuttal? Do you admit that?
I admit that I don't understand if you know what the words rebuttal means, especially as referencing collegiate debate. Can you tell me what rebuttal is in collegiate debate, seeing as how you're referencing that? Go ahead.
So is a rebuttal the refutation of the debate?
No, so the first speeches that each side gives are called the constructive, in which they're making their case. Then after the constructives, you do what's called rebuttal speeches. The constructive speeches are 9 minutes, each followed by a cross-examination of the constructive, where you talk about the things that were specifically said in. So if anything, what I'm doing is more akin to a cross-examination of his constructive case that he's making, as opposed to a rebuttal. But you seem to have a lot of knowledge about collegiate debate, so go ahead, explain to me.
Okay, so
how long are rebuttals normally? Just curious. In collegiate debate,
there's going to be different times, but in the one I went to,
no, you're talking about the collegiate debate that I.
Okay, I'm not going to sit there and do a freaking collegiate debate with you because your fucking ego is hurt, bud.
No, it has nothing to do with my ego.
The whole fucking paragraph is the context, not the one word. Do you understand that?
Let me finish.
The whole paragraph. No, I'm not going to.
You referenced several times collegiate debate and me being a collegiate debater here, and you say on this point specifically, when it comes to collegiate debate, that it's important. Following the conversation is an important part, right? Then you say about counterclaims and rebuttals, but I'm starting to think you don't know what a rebuttal is in collegiate debate. So I'm happy for you to tell me what is the time frame for a rebuttal speech in collegiate debate? Go ahead.
Is this a pedantic point?
Oh, so then you have no clue.
No, is this a pedantic point? Answer the question, fat fuck.
No, it's not pedantic.
So what's not pedantic about it? Answer the question.
Can you show a picture of yourself, since you want to make fun of other people's images? Can we see a picture of yourself?
Are you going to do this? Anybody?
Are we going to
Are we going to get to it, fatty? Get over it. I want to fucking hear it. Come on, bitch. Come on, bitch. Get over it.
Let's see a picture of yourself. Let's see a picture of yourself.
Ever go beyond that point?
Are we going to see a picture of yourself?
Let's hear it, Rob.
Are you going to show a picture of yourself?
Let's hear it, Rob. Come on.
Turn your camera.
Come on, buddy. Come on, baby. Come on.
What,
baby.
What are you doing? So you're a coward. So he's a coward who won't turn his camera on, just so we can see, right? Number one. Next, he says, a point. What is he talking about? If he wants to talk about pedantics, why is he talking about collegiate debate and following the conversation being an important part? It's not pedantic because what he doesn't understand that in collegiate debate, what happens is the affirmative oftentimes gives their plan. You have one topic for the entire year, but the topic is broad. In that debate, what happens is you could take a plan that is more narrow that falls within the bounds of that topic. Most of the time, unless you're breaking a complete new plan, you give that plan before the debate to your opponents. So your opponents know exactly what your plan's going to be. Most of the time, they even know what your reasons for that plan was going to be because you're running the same plan almost multiple times, certainly throughout the course of the year. And so they'll ask, what are your advantages? You'll tell them like the economy, global warming, something like that. Then they'll offer a counter argument. That counter argument oftentimes will have things like counter plans. It'll have direct rebuttals, direct refutations. It'll have other plans that are made. It'll have certain language. There'll be attacks on you as maybe a critical attacks on the things you're doing, philosophical attacks. It could have performative attacks on you. The structure of the debate then is you follow what we call is a flow. So in a flow, what happens is you basically keep a line of arguments, right? So my 5 arguments on this sheet of paper on the economy, now we'll switch to the next paper, global warming. Here's my 5 arguments. Then they'll introduce 4 new sheets of paper, our counter plan, racism, Marxism, whatever. They'll list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then off of my arguments, they'll go one by one off of my arguments. So what you do in a debate, and it's weird because he seems to be making this point here, he says, even in a collegiate debate, following this conversation is an important part. Right. So in a collegiate debate, it is important to follow the conversation. And multiple times what will happen is what the argument you started with the first side making, that's not the argument you end up talking about as you go through the debate, because things that occur within the debate become more important issues. For example, if I say we should lower subsidies, but call my opponent a fat fuck, my opponents will then say, Rob called us fat fucks. That's against decorum. It also shows that he's a bigot, an ableist, whatever. And that's what the entire debate will come to. The judge isn't going to say, wait a minute. No. You have to prove your original case that Rob was wrong about what he said about subsidies. You can't talk about him saying that you're a fat fuck. Now, Unholy Raft, no, I don't think it's pedantic then, because what I'm showing is, as you invoke collegiate debate to make your point that I should not be allowed to reference an accusation made against me and ask for proof of it, you actually have it completely backwards. So no, it is not pedantic.
Okay, so I'm gonna say some things. Sit there quietly for a minute, if you don't mind, sir. Okay, so my point of view, the way I'm coming from this is from a guy who always says, I'm Rob Noor. I participate in a lot of college or online debates, also debated in college, stuff like this. And yet, when he is the one making the affirmative claim inside of the argument or the debate as it begins, and he even outside of that, because the meeting is over Rob's affirmative claims. So when Rob even begins the whole conversation with affirmative claims, the first thing that we're exploring, which I agree, Rob, we don't always spend time over the actual main subject. The first thing that we explored wasn't even related to the main subject. It was a 4-year-old conversation in which Rob didn't like the fact that he was being mischaracterized for the way he quotes people. And the only thing it served was to like pump up your ego or build down your ego at that given moment. But in actuality, because you guys never even agreed on it, if you didn't come in with a bias or pro Rob or pro Destiny, you wouldn't actually come out with any kind of understanding or any kind of like taking of one side or the other, because you guys just sat there, argued over a point that was 4 years old over whether Destiny and had said the voting and writing was the other side of the coin of voting. And you argued that you argued that for so long that you never even came back to the original point.
Okay, first off, you've done the exact same thing in this conversation where you were going to call in to talk about this, but we spent so much time running afoul of talking of other things. That's number one. Second, the specific accusation made to me was that I falsely interpret what's the exact word that he used? I'm drawing a blank here now, but it basically was I misrepresent what people say. Now, there's a strategic reason why I felt it was most important to deal with that first as we get to towards the end of this conversation that I'm having with my opponent, is because when I provide the receipts that say what I say, he'll say, no, that's a misrepresentation. Even though he said what you said, he said, there's explanations from that, because actually that's just a 30-second quote from a 3-hour video, right? And so you're misrepresenting it. And so when he makes the fundamental accusation to me, because I make a bunch of points like Destiny's called for censoring people. I thought this was obvious. I don't even think Destiny would deny this. I think he would say, even recently, he's been on shows. I didn't have the timestamps available or anything like that from the particular videos. I thought that almost anyone was aware of that. If he wants to say that's not true, okay, I'll bring up clips, no problem. But when he says, I don't believe that because I've watched you recently and I've seen you misrepresent people, I'm allowed to say, when? When did that occur? He says, I saw you misrepresent Destiny when you claimed he said rioting was the other side of the coin to voting. I'm allowed then to say, okay, let's look for proof of that. In that conversation of looking for proof of that, two things happen. First, he says that it's a misrepresentation because of the tone, because I'm using, quote, loaded language. So even if Destiny really did say that quote, the fact that I'm putting negative connotations around that means that it's a misrepresentation. That's a ludicrous point and gets to the point that when we get to the specific claims of Destiny saying that he wants to censor people online, my opponent will say, oh no, you're using loaded language as to why that would be a bad thing. So that doesn't qualify. The second point that he makes is that it's taking it out of context, which again, if I say that Destiny calls, if I provide a quote saying he's calling for censorship of people online, he'll say, no, that's out of context, right? And so what I'm doing is laying the groundwork for, he's basically told me what his argument's going to be. His argument's going to be, even if you could provide receipts, I'll refuse to accept them because I'll say, nope, it's only a 20-second quote of a 2-hour conversation. It's out of context, and you were using loaded negative language. He made the accusation to me. Similarly, if I make the accusation to you that there's something terrible about you, you're telling me that you would just say, oh, okay, I won't touch that point. Instead, we'll just move on. Now, will you acknowledge that I do bring the receipts that Destiny said exactly what I said that he would say regarding riding the other side of the coin to voting? Will you admit that?
No.
He didn't say that.
Did he say that, or was there more, Rob? Because it's a quote. A quote has to be exact. So what's the exact quote?
So how?
What's the exact quote?
Okay.
What's the exact quote? Don't stammer over your words. Get to it.
I have a question before we get to that. How?
I'm not answering it until you answer that question of mine.
Okay, well then I will just say this. How long does the quote have to be? Like, for example, if I provide the quote of one sentence, will he say that's not enough? What was the sentence before that? What was the exact sentence before it? And what was the exact sentence after that? Now, he said the words that I said he said, and he's going to say, no, tell me what the exact quote was. If I miss an and, or if I miss an does that mean that I'm not providing an exact quote?
No, it doesn't. But if you're missing an important word that would change the context of the overall sentence, it can mean something. And if you don't mind, I can provide an example of my reasoning from the opposite side of the perspective.
Go ahead. Let's hear your example.
Okay. Are you going to sit here and say yes to me that Donald Trump said that white supremacists were good people?
He did not.
Why? It's quoted.
Show me the quote.
Oh, sure. In the Charlottesville, he said, there are good people here on both sides.
Show me. I didn't hear anywhere in what you just said him quoted as saying white supremacists are good people.
I'm sorry. I'll try to say it again. That probably my phone's a little low on volume.
It's a great example. I accept your example fully. You said Donald Trump said white supremacists are good people. I said, can you provide me the quote? And you said he said good people are on both sides. Can you show me that sentence you provided where he says white supremacists are good people?
Sure. Go into Google and go Charlottesville, Donald Trump, white supremacist quote.
Okay. Let's say I do that. And you're telling me it's going to say in that quote, he says white supremacists are good people.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. There you
So
go. So
if-
there you go. Well, there you have it. Unholy Raft, absolutely certain that we are going to find a sentence from Charlottesville where Donald Trump utters the words, white supremacists are good people. Before we let Unholy Raft come back on, we're going to find that quote. We're going to find the Charlottesville quotes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Take me some time to find it. All right, we'll use this one because I can't find the full transcript, but I think this will provide what we're looking for here. Here's the quote. Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as neo-Nazis, and you had some very bad people in that group, but you also had very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures that you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of them of a very important statue and the renaming of the park. The Robert E. Lee, another name. After taking another question, Trump became more explicit. I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and white nationalists because they should be condemned totally. Can you show me in either of those quotes where Donald Trump utters the words white supremacists are fine people?
I'm actually going to quote you here, and if I actually miss the quote a little bit, it doesn't matter, right?
Can you show me? I asked you a question. Can you show me where you said definitively when we looked up the quote, it would say that Donald Trump said white supremacists were fine people.
Well, you're the one that told me. I'm just using your elite reasons. I'm confused. I'm taking lessons from Rob Norton. You said if the quote isn't exact, it's fine. Because that was your thing. That was your defense of destiny, right?
What I said was Trump, unlike your claim about Trump,
What was your defense of destiny?
What I said was that if you miss a word or two, that doesn't mean that you didn't accurately quote them. Like
a word or two.
So again, you can't control yourself. So Destiny did say the words rioting and voting are two sides of the same coin. He made that argument. Trump never said white supremacists are fine people. He didn't say it. So I can provide the quote of Destiny. And if you look at the context, what he's saying, yes, he's defending the riots against public institutions. And he's saying, yes, I say, if you want to know what the full quote is, it's something to this effect. I say the conspiratorial nature in me thinks that people like de Blasio and others are allowing these riots to occur because they think it's bad for Trump or it could lead to change. And Destiny says, I don't think that's conspiratorial at all. I think that trying to go for change, that there is an attempt to drive for political change, and that something about like that's what our country's about or something like that. Rioting and or activism and rioting is the other side of the coin to voting. That's what he says. Now, is that the exact quote? No, I probably missed a word here or there, but that's different than you saying Donald Trump said white
we
people.
both missed a word or two. We just care differently about the level of engagement.
It's not even close. You're saying
we are because we're biased from our two different perspectives. That's why we care so much.
It has nothing to do with bias.
It is.
It has nothing to do. It has to do with objective
reality. Prove to me how it isn't.
I'll explain to you how it isn't. For example, what you're doing here is inserting words that were literally never uttered by Donald Trump. What I'm doing is citing words that were
cutting out words that were never said.
Please, what I'm doing is saying words that were said by Destiny, but there were other words surrounding it that I'm not giving you the whole paragraph of what he said word to word. But I am, one, accurately representing what he said, and second, accurately saying exact words that he said.
So fucking Jesus Christ.
So I just want to, your argument is this, unless you get word for word, your argument is this, unless you get word for word, sentence to sentence.
Yours.
Unless you get word for word, for an exact quote that it's literally akin to completely making up what someone said. Both are inaccurate quotes.
So my point, the one point I'm trying to convey to you is that quotes, they need to be as exact as possible to convey the message that the person saying them is trying to convey. So if you're or if you're cutting out words that might change things like protests, or if you're cutting or adding words like white supremacy, that will change the context of the meaning entirely. In fact, the guy you were talking to was trying to talk to you about loaded language and the way you use it. And this was exactly what he was talking about. Hang on. I'm talking, you're interrupting. So, in fact, this little thing, this whole back and forth over Destiny stuff, you had this back and forth with Destiny a couple months back. So you had the back and forth with the guy that said it. And that guy went back in the videos, listened to his old stuff, came back and told you exactly differently of that. So coming on to every single person that supports Destiny, because you can't give up this argument, is just you wanting to refute it with all the Destiny lights in the world until you get it right. But you're not right on that.
That's not what happened. I'll explain what happened. Destiny said that and said, I probably never said that. Then he muted me on his stream while we were on the spaces and went back for his audience where I couldn't hear, re-listened to the quote, and then tried to justify what he said. He never came back and told me, well, this is what I meant. He tried to justify it to his own audience. He said it. I could bring up other quotes of him saying similar things, that the rioting against police and stuff was acceptable, that it was a form of activism, that activism and rioting was the other side of the coin to voting. Just because you accept now that Destiny's later changed his stance and wants to say, no, those forms of political riots are inappropriate because it's politically expedient for him to do so because he's attacking January 6th now, is irrelevant. The point that he was making at the time was that rioting and activism was the other side of the coin to voting. I am accurate when I say that that's what he said. And the fact that you, just like the guy last night, when I could provide the exact quote, will still deny it, proves why it was important to have this argument before we got to the exact quote. Because it is important, because everyone here could see.
No,
now,
you had this debate with Destiny.
I'm going to play the clip of Destiny saying this, and then you're going to explain. I'm going to play the clip of Destiny saying this, and then you're going to explain to me how I'm taking it out of context. Agreed? Yes? Okay, if you're no longer willing to engage, we'll say goodbye. You want to shout out your channel real quick?
I'm sorry. You keep muting me, so I just
because you keep interrupting in the middle of me talking.
No, hang on.
I have no respect for you, right? I have none. So I'll do what I want in my channel. I don't give a shit. You continue as you showed when you first came in here, just wanted to scream over me. You're now claiming some bullshit. So we're going to go to the exact quote. We're going to go to it, and then you're going to prove the claim that you're saying, that I'm misrepresenting Destiny. Fair enough? No, you don't want to respond? Okay. You want to shout out a channel or anything like that?
Oh, fair enough. Sorry, fair enough.
Okay, so I'm going to provide the quote. I'm going to provide the quote, and then you're going to tell me how I misrepresent it. Fair enough?
Well, hang on. Okay, go for it.
Okay. So I said Destiny said that rioting was the other side of the coin to voting. You're saying, nope, misrepresentation. So here we go.
Okay, so first of all, that's not the quote. As Rob just explained to you a little bit ago, the quote, I believe, was something along the lines of, was it protesting and rioting are the other side of the vote to other side of the coin to voting. Got my V's and my C's there mixed up. So what he's trying to make the point of, in democracy, that is part of it. You have to take both sides of it. Voting is what we do when we're happy, we want something. When voting doesn't work for us, we have to deal with the other side of the coin, protesting. Sometimes inside of protesting, we have rioting. This is why he used both words, protesting and rioting, to make his point. He wasn't trying to be nice about the language, he was trying to be real about it. But you are trying to take the worst part of that and blow it up to a much bigger thing because you're trying to make a point about the Democrats are so bad and Destiny have done this. Like, yeah, I get it. You have Democrat derangement syndrome.
First off, you don't even accurately quote the words. He doesn't say protesting and rioting. He says protesting and rioting. He says activism and rioting.
Dude, right? You didn't quote it right.
Secondly, the explanation that you make there still makes no sense. My entire point is Destiny clutched his pearls and
You said you would
hyperventilated
quote
for
it.
4 years. Destiny clutched his pearls and hyperventilated for 4 years about January 6th. I told Destiny well before January 6th and many other people that because they were making excuses for political violence that we saw occurring in the summer of love, that if the other side said we also would like to engage in political violence, they would scream that that's unacceptable, it's horrible, etc., etc. So years later, when I'm doing this Spaces with Destiny, where he's going off about January 6th and talking about why his comments about the assassination of Trump, well, what about January 6th and how bad it was, and these people are monsters and blah, blah, blah. When I start on that and I say, listen, what I find so bad about you is the disingenuous nature because you're misleading people. You yourself defended political violence that was occurring during the summer of love with Black Lives Matter. You said that rioting was the other side of the coin to voting. Now, your explanation seems to be here. Oh, but that's only focused on one part of it. You're leaving off that he also said things like protesting. Yes, of course. He's going to say that there are multiple things that you could do to achieve political goals. Some of those will be voting. That's why he's saying one side of the coin. The other side might be forms of activism, and it may be forms of violence. I don't really care what his stance on activism is. That's fine. No one disagrees. You could be an activist. Great. The problem I have is if you're going to condemn political violence when it occurs on one side, when you were previously making excuses when your side was engaging in political violence and saying that that was the other side of the coin to voting because they're trying to achieve political ends, then you're a hypocrite. Similarly, it goes with the entire overarching criticism I had with Destiny of calling Asmongold fascist adjacent. He agrees with, has pushed for, etc. policies that I would consider fascist adjacent or authoritarian. So it's rich to hear him accuse other people of that exact thing. So can you explain to me in what you just said of your defense of Destiny, do you think that Destiny is saying that rioting against political institutions is justified to achieve political ends?
Oh God, no! He never said that inside that entire conversation. It says
what's he
the
mean
brutal
then?
reality we have to face with, but he never said justified. In
So
fact, that was
what's
the
he mean?
entire
What's he mean
multi-hour
when he
conversation that you had, right?
what's he mean when he says it's the other side of the coin to voting?
It's the other side of the coin. It's an unhappy reality you have to deal with. And don't forget, rioting is not the only word there. Activism and protest is what he's talking about too.
Right. So he says both. So he's implying both.
And
are
what
legitimate.
happens? What happens more? Is it activism or rioting? Which one
He's
happens
saying
more
both.
than
He's
the other?
saying both are
It
legitimate.
matters. It matters. Which one happens more is going to be mattering.
It doesn't matter which one happens more. If
Because
I say,
one is a small thing and one is the bigger thing. So I'm going to have to look at the bigger problem.
If I would say that yelling at your wife and punching her in the face are both acceptable, and you said, I don't think that's at all. You can't physically assault your wife. And I say, what happens more, yelling at her or punching her? What happens more? Oh, yelling? Well, therefore that matters. See? No, you would say, no, I don't care about the yelling. I care about the punching. You're legitimizing the punching. Once you legitimize when you say
I've got an example of you.
So here we go. Let's play the clip. I think this will be, we're going to play it a little further out than we did last night. And then I'll play some other clips to make it unambiguous of what exactly Destiny is saying.
Sorry.
All right, there we go. And I can tell you right now, that factors zero into my calculus. Like, I'm more.
Well, no, I mean, that's really important. If stuff like this and Trump's response ends up making him less likely to get elected.
Just though, if you're rioting for that kind of political reason, that's even worse.
I mean, when top down, when the only responses Trump has given is that when the looting starts, the shooting starts, or like quoting literally like racist.
That's what happens.
Literally quoting like a racist cop from '68, I think. Like that's not a good look. Like that's not a good way to manage your citizens protesting. Like when you're literally tear gassing people out so you can do a shitty photo op in some cemetery or church or whatever, that St. John's place or whatever. Like these are really bad looks for how Trump is handling things. And I'm sure a lot of people will be happy with literally anybody else at the helm but him.
I mean, I think that what you're saying gets to a truth of what a lot of people are thinking on the left, which they actually like these riots. And I think that this could be a reason. This is the conspiratorial nature in me, but this could be why people like de Blasio are like, yeah, go ahead, keep rioting. We're just going to give up parts of the city and be unwilling to accept the National Guard.
Well, I don't think there's conspiratorial at all. I think that affecting political change like this is fine. Like that's part of the goal. Like activism and riots are one side of the coin and the other side is voting. Like bringing awareness to issues like this, you know, and an attempt to get people to vote differently is part of the goal, right?
If we're looking. Okay. So he says it's fine. I say, I think de Blasio is allowing these riots to go. It's conspiratorial. He says that's not conspiratorial at all. That's not all. I think trying to get political change like this is fine. So can you explain to me how he's not saying it's acceptable, that he's saying, oh, no, it's not acceptable, but this is what's occurring? Why does he say it's fine then?
I thought you said he was encouraging it, supporting it. Now it's fine?
He said, right. So
They're
you
two
don't
different
think
matters,
you
two
don't
different
think
perspectives you come across. Either if I'm for
now
something,
you're
I'm
going to
for it.
quit
If I'm,
so now you're going to quibble
if
with
it's like
semantics.
it's okay, it's
Okay, I
okay.
don't know what exact word I said. I said Destiny said it was acceptable.
Jesus Christ, I've done this so much with him. He doesn't know what he exactly says. Okay.
So you're saying that's not the case. Your argument was, no. Destiny just said that's a harsh reality. He's not supporting it. He's not saying that it's good. He's just saying, but right there, he just said it's fine. You want to hear some more quotes? You want to hear some more quotes of
No,
Destiny?
hang on. What I said is exactly what he just said as well. It's a harsh reality you have to deal with. That's a harsh reality.
That's
Yes.
not what he
That's
said.
not saying. That's not
that's
saying.
not-
Oh, I hate it. That's not saying it's so
No.
bad. We need to get rid of it. That's saying it's fine. It's a harsh reality
Let's
that
play
we
that
have to
clip
deal
again.
with.
Let's play that clip again, and I'll leave the
Why?
again
Jesus
because
Christ. Okay.
we're going to play that clip
I'm going to
again
be here
because
for 20 more minutes. I'm heading out.
okay. Well, let's play that clip again
So
because you are so biased. Your
put the clip in
bias
fast
is
forward. Put the
you're
clip in
so
fast forward.
I'm
I'm
going to
not sitting
play
here
the
at
clip
normal
again.
speed anymore.
I
Please.
You're so biased that you can't hear the obvious nature of what he's
We're
saying. You're
both
making it
biased,
sound-
motherfucker.
I
Don't
am
come at me with
biased.
I'm biased.
am-
You're right as
You're right. I am biased. We all have some form of bias. However, my bias doesn't discourage me from seeing objective reality. The objective reality is Destiny's not saying here, like, yeah, these riots are occurring because of politics, and that's terrible, and we need to condemn them. That shouldn't happen. He's saying, yes, that's fine. Pushing for political change like this is good. It's violent or activism and rioting's the other side of the coin to voting. He's saying it's good. That's what he's saying. And the fact that you're so biased that you're denying the literal words he says shows that your bias has affected you so much that you can't be trusted to see objectivity. Now let's play it again.
Saint was I have some opinions if you would like me.
Might have been like someone that
Some sort of response to it.
I think that the police.
Do you think that?
Do
Do you think?
riots will help? I don't know though. And I can tell you right now that factors zero into my calculus. Like I'm more.
Well, no, I mean
concerned
that's
with
really
the-
important. If stuff like this and Trump's response ends up making him less likely to get elected, I assume most of the people protesting or rioting even would assume that that's like a victory on their part.
Right. So what he's saying here is, if these protests lead to Trump being less likely, he left. He left. The coward left. Who would have thought? There he goes. He ran out. So notice what he's saying there. There he is, the runner. Hey, thanks so much, Unholy Raft. We appreciate you, man. We appreciate you being a coward and running. Thank you so much. Good stuff. Sounded like he was crying when he was talking, calling me a fat bitch, but too much of a coward to show his face. And running when he gets caught lying. Good stuff. So let's listen to what Destiny says here again. Now remember, he can't defend. The reason he ran is because once the receipts comes out, he can't defend it. He can't. This is a guy who wanted to argue about why didn't you stream October 31st? Why didn't you? That was what he wanted to talk about. That's his big. So once we get to the relevant issues. So again, here what you hear me saying is like, listen, because Destiny asked me previously, he's like, do you think that Trump's reaction to these protests will harm him? And that was my claim all throughout that summer. The Democrats wanted Trump to deploy the National Guard so they could say, look, he's a fascist. Look, he's an authoritarian. So they wanted the riots to keep occurring to force Trump to finally do something so they could scream authoritarian. That's what they wanted. So Destiny says, well, do you think this will harm Trump's chances? And I said, my opinion has nothing to do with the politics on whether or not this is good or bad. I'm talking about the morality of these riots and how they should be dealt with. And Destiny says, well, no, it should. Because they'll look at it as a victory, the rioters, if it harms Trump's chances to win. I mean, that's outrageous, though. If you're rioting for that kind of political reason, that's even worse.
I mean, when top down, when the only responses Trump has given is that when the looting starts, the shooting starts, or like quoting literally like racist.
That's what happens.
He's literally quoting like a racist cop from '68, I think. Like that's not a good look. Like that's not a good way to manage your citizens protesting. Like when you're literally.
Unholy Raft, you rage quit. Now you want to come back when you were called out for being a little crybaby? Oh, little crybaby. Here's the link again. Little crybaby. Oh, buddy. I'll run out again. Oh. So let's listen to the words again here again. All right? It's like I'm more.
Well, no, I mean that's really important. If stuff like this and Trump's response ends up making him less likely to get elected, I assume most of the people protesting or rioting even would assume that that's like a victory on their part.
I mean, that's outrageous, though. If you're rioting for that kind of political reason, that's even worse.
I mean, when top down, when the only responses Trump has given is that when the looting starts, the shooting starts, or like quoting literally like racist.
That's what happens.
He's literally quoting like a racist cop from '68, I think. Like that's not a good look. Like that's not a good way to manage your citizens protesting. Like when you're literally tear gassing people out so you can do a shitty photo op in some cemetery or church or whatever, that St. John's place or whatever. Like these are really bad looks for how Trump is handling things. And I'm sure a lot of people will be happy with literally anybody else at the helm but him.
I mean, I think that what you're saying gets to a truth of what a lot of people are thinking on the left, which they actually like these riots. And I think that this could, the people on the left like these riots, right? Could be a reason. This is the conspiratorial nature in me, but this could be why people like de Blasio are like, yeah, go ahead, keep rioting. We're just conspiratorial nature is why I think people like de Blasio are like, keep rioting. Now listen to what Destiny says. Do you think Destiny will say, A? No, of course not. We don't like these riots. The riots are terrible. They're unacceptable. But sadly, they're inevitable because Trump's really bad. Or do you think he'll say, that's fine. Rioting's the other side of the coin to voting. Let's see which one he does. He's going to give up parts of the city and be unwilling to accept the National Guard.
Well, I don't think there's conspiratorial at all. I think that affecting political change like this is fine. Like that's part of.
Okay, so we're talking about the riots. We're talking about the riots. He says, I think that affecting political change like this, like these riots, is fine. Care to respond to that part of what he's saying, Unholy Raft?
First of all, I'm gonna apologize.
Apologize for what?
Sitting there and like going on your big fucking rant while I just accidentally clicked off my phone.
Looked like you left to me.
Well, I did sit there multiple times. Your chat's blowing it up. But if you're not going to apologize, I understand eating L's is part of the job.
I'm not going to apologize.
What was your question?
You left.
What was your question? What was your question? Come on, get to the question.
You were talking about riots. He just said affecting political change like that is fine.
Okay. What's your question?
The question is, you're claiming that he's not saying it's fine, that he's saying it's regrettable and condemnable, but it's the reality of what will happen. Then why does he say it's fine there?
It's fine? Like a thing it's good? We should riot?
Let's replay what he says. Ready?
No,
Listen
I'm
again.
asking you a question. I asked you a question. I asked you a
We're
question,
gonna
man.
play-
Is it from your perspective, is that okay?
Fine is synonymous with it's acceptable. It's good. It's
okay. So fine is synonymous with acceptable. That's okay. That's all I needed. I didn't need to hear the whole thing again. Jesus Christ, bro.
Claim was. That's different than what your claim was. He's not saying it's good. He's not saying it's acceptable. He's just saying it's reality. Will you admit you're wrong?
No. Because it sounds like what I just said from my perspective is exactly what I'm laying out. Right?
Okay, what's your perspective again? Tell us.
Oh my God, for the third time. Oh, Jesus Christ, Rob. You tell me what my perspective is, because Jesus, at the third time, I'm not going to sit there and play this game. If you don't know it after 3 times, then you're being bad faith.
I've repeated over and over what I think your perspective is. He's saying that it's the political reality, that it's not good, that it's not acceptable, but it's unfortunate that if voices aren't heard, that riots like these will occur.
So it's not good and it's not acceptable.
Correct. Is that what you're saying?
Sounds like what I'm saying, yeah. But so I don't exactly know.
Okay, so then just to be clear, your stance is he's saying it's not good or acceptable.
It's not good or acceptable, but it's a reality of what's happening here. Okay, and if it happens because of that, then that's a reality of what happened there. Yes.
Let's play the clip again.
It sounds like it's fine that it happened. I would say the same thing.
No, wait a minute.
I don't want to play the clip again. Please, I don't have a lot of time.
You just said 2 contradictory things.
Oh my God.
You said that Destiny's saying it's not acceptable, but that he said it's fine, which is synonymous with acceptable.
I just said that does Destiny saying it's fine? Is he like condoning or writing off on, like, is he giving his name to say, go ahead and protest? Is he saying that?
By saying fine, he's saying it's acceptable. It's a good thing. That's what he's saying.
Okay. So that's not what I'm hearing. That's not even seems to be what he's saying at all.
Let's play the clip again. Then.
Well, no, you use your words to make the point.
Here we go. We'll play the clip.
Use your words to make the point.
I am using my words
only sitting here for those. Remember that little bit of time more, Rob. So make your words to make the point.
I'm using my words to make the point. The point is, when he says it's fine, he's saying it's a good thing, that it's the other side. That's what our country is. It's the other side of the coin to voting, that affecting political change like this is good. That's what he's saying.
Affecting political change is good, but you said it was fine.
You're right. I'm
Why
saying that
are
he
we
said,
changing our language and our explanation of him? Why isn't that we can't use the same language if we're trying to explain?
all right, I'm saying that the words good and fine are synonymous in this context. It appears that Unholy Raft is making the claim that when Destiny says that this is fine, that he's not saying it's a good thing. We will play the clip of Glenn for Unholy Raft to hear. And I think that this could be a reason. This is the conspiratorial nature in me. But this could be why people like de Blasio are like, yeah, go ahead, keep riding. We're just going to give up parts of the city and be unwilling to accept the National Guard.
Well, I don't think
Because
there's
they want to
conspiratorial at
force-
all. I think that affecting political change like this is fine. Like that's part of the goal. Like activism.
It's fine. It's part of the goal. Now he's saying, that's not saying it's good, though. Saying it's fine is not saying it's good. Let's listen further.
And riots are one side of the coin, and the other side is voting. Like bringing awareness to issues like this, you know, and an attempt to get people to vote differently is part of the goal, right?
It's good. It's part of the goal to get people to vote differently. Care to respond? Now, you're saying because I said that he said it's fine, which is synonymous with good, I'm incorrect. So you're saying the word fine doesn't mean that he's saying it's good. That's your argument now?
Yeah, I do have a response. Can you tell me if someone wants karmic balance for something? What does that mean?
They want justice. They want both sides to be equal.
Karmic balance is not that. Karmic balance means you want an act or something done to them that is in balance with the bad karma that they have brought upon them. So usually it's an act similar in nature. So when we say, I want this karma, karma will get him for stealing that guy's money, you're saying, you're hoping that guy loses a bunch of money because it gets stolen from him, right?
Right. Okay. Sure. Why not?
No. Do you understand this meaning of karma?
Yes. To me, what karma means is you get what you have coming, like justice.
Exactly. You get equal justice for your actions, right?
Okay.
Okay. So when you said that Destiny is going to get the karmic balance coming to him because he's ignoring all this violence and that he wishes violence upon others, you're wishing violence upon Destiny.
Now, so I noticed that you completely changed the topic of what we're talking about. Which
I did.
So you admit that
you're nonsensical. Because you're sitting here repeating this point over and over again.
I'll be happy to move on when you say, I admit that I was wrong. I definitively said that Destiny didn't say that it was acceptable, fine, good, whatever to have this, and I'm wrong. And you were right to point out that not only I was wrong, but the person you were debating last night was wrong. When you would say that, I'll say, great. Now we can move on to the next subject. Are you willing to say that?
Oh, yeah. Well, that was a little bad.
Are you willing to say that?
That you were wrong? Sure. Oh,
that's not what I said. You could listen again. That you were wrong when you said that Destiny didn't say that it was acceptable. He was just saying it's a sad reality. And when my opponent last night said the same thing, that's not true. His own words say that rioting is fine, that the riots going on and even de Blasio allowing them to continue, it's fine because it's affecting political change. And that's the other side of the coin to voting. Will you admit that you were wrong, that I did accurately represent what Destiny was saying, and that I was correct to point it out?
Rob, we're saying the same thing, brother. You're right. You're wrong on this matter. Okay, we agree.
There you have it. There you have it. He says that I'm saying that I'm wrong. Now, we go further. Someone last night sent me this clip. So let's see what I'm looking for. They show me it's... And this is going to be more of Destiny saying that violence is okay or calling for it. Let's see if I can bring this up. So thank you to Andy who sent me this.
Concerned with like what we get mad about on Twitter, I guess. Like that's more important.
Let's talk about what I want to talk about. Let's talk about what I want to talk about because I'm here. And I mean it's your stream, so you can go ahead and delete or hang up the call because what's the whole deal with the protesters thing?
I don't support rioting. I don't think that burning down private businesses is a acceptable thing to do.
So I guess So you think it's okay to mow down protesters?
No, I never said that. Nope. If you've gone and you look through my history, I have supported BLM and BLM protests like ubiquitously throughout my career. I've done it in front of conservative panels of people. So not just in my little safe space college groups where we talk about how funny we are on Twitter. I've done it in the real world in front of audiences of screaming conservatives. I've done it online against plenty of popular figures, people from Turning Point USA, well-known Nazis like Enoch and Stryker and Ethan Ralph from the oh god, I don't remember, the Kill Report. I've argued with people like Nick Fuentes. I've defended BLM and the right to protest and even riot against public institutions for years. It's like one of the most consistent points that I have.
Matter? No, it's because we know in America, there's no question that white lives matter. The problem with the way that we treat black lives in America is it seems like there is a lack of accountability whenever there would be extrajudicial killings of black men by white cops. That's where BLM came from. It was the holding accountable these police precincts that have a vested interest in protecting their cops when it seems like they can always get away, or a lot of the time get away with murdering black men. Everybody agrees that a black man killing a black man or woman is wrong. Nobody's debating that. Everybody agrees that when a white person is killed, it's wrong. Nobody's debating that. The reason why BLM started was because it seemed like there was an accountability problem with police officers and being held accountable when they killed black people. That was the problem. You said it correctly. You said it correctly earlier. You said it correctly.
Let him talk. Let him speak. Let him speak.
You said it correctly earlier. BLM was created because of the extrajudicial killing of black men that didn't seem to be taken seriously by police departments. If you want to create an organization that talks about other types of like Black Lives Lost, by all means do that. But don't say that every single organization created needs to cater to every single issue.
I didn't say every single organization does, but I'm glad you brought up that point, because once again, only 13 unarmed black men were killed last year by the police, as opposed to 35 unarmed white men that were killed. So when we're saying like it's about police brutality, why don't they have a White Lives Matter? Why don't they have this type of thing? And if you are going to call yourselves Black Lives Matter, why isn't it everybody? Why not just
to talk about black on black violence? Do it.
There's rioting against police and government buildings is good. Doesn't mean you have to defend every single part of it. I mean, I think it's like historically unprecedented for this many cities to have this many protests, and then countries around the world are protesting, I guess, as well in solidarity. Some cities, other countries too. So,
what do you think about it? What, like, do you support that, or what do you think about?
Do you support the First Amendment or not?
No, not the protest necessarily.
Yeah, so I support. Listen, if people want to protest, I think that's great. If people want to riot against like public institutions, if you want to blow up cop cars or cop precincts or public buildings, whatever, that's cool. Personally, not a fan of the looting stores and blowing up businesses and stuff. I feel like it's a little harder.
So
to
wait. You're cool with blowing up the cop cars, but just not the businesses. Okay.
Yeah, I think attacking public institutions is kind of a cornerstone of like American views of government, right?
Huh. Wow. Yep, blowing up cop cars. Yep, it's a cornerstone of American views of government. Wow, it's almost like he's saying that rioting's the other side of the coin to voting, which is what I said from the get-go. Huh. Isn't it weird how that operates? Care to respond? Now, when he says, yeah, I support blowing up cop cars and police precincts, can you explain to us how he's not saying that that's something he supports? Go ahead.
Yeah. So earlier, what I was doing was I was actually making a counter-examination of your logic and reasoning in the way you approach things. So if you're also guilty of what you're accusing others of.
Yeah, that's not what you were doing. You were changing the subject because you're fundamentally incorrect and can't admit that you're wrong. Will you admit that you were wrong and I was correct when I said that he said rioting was the other side of the coin to voting?
Only if you admitted that you changed the subject yesterday when you deflected to talking about.
It has nothing to do. I'm not going to. You're non sequitur. You're non sequitur. I've already discussed this, so I'll discuss here. Yes, when I was accused of quote being misrepresenting what people said, and I said, "Can you give me an example of that?" And that person made the same argument that Unholy Raph's making here, that I misrepresented Destiny when I said that he said rioting was the other side of the coin to voting because of my tone and because I was taking him out of context. That's not true. Actually, I was accurately representing what Destiny has said. I've brought more evidence today that he is supporting the blowing up of cop cars and public institutions. He's just against the private. That's exactly what I said Destiny said on the Spaces call that person last night said. So no, I'm not going to admit, oh, you changed the subject. No, I didn't change the subject. Much like almost every debate that ever occurs, there's an agreed upon topic. Throughout the context of that debate about that agreed upon topic, things go in different directions. I was accused of misrepresenting someone. It was important that we discuss this because when even you provide direct quotes, imagine They're like, provide me the direct quotes. You won't do it because you misrepresent. And I'm like, can you show me where I misrepresented? Yes. This one time you said you had a direct quote. Then I provide all the receipts and you still say that's a misrepresentation. That's germane to the argument. You saying, well, you said something about karma once and about destiny. So that has nothing to do. Will you admit that you were wrong, that I am accurately representing what Destiny said about rioting being the other side of the coin of voting? Then we can move on to talk about what the other thing you want to talk about changing the subject is.
No, I won't.
Okay. Well, we'll see you later then. You're clearly bad faith. I don't know what else to say. What would anyone else? So he's called me a fat fuck. He's called me a coward. We could see the evidence right in front of it. He literally just said the words, yes, I support the blowing up of cop cars. Have at it. Yep, I defend that. It's a cornerstone of American values. And then Holy Raft's like, no, he didn't say that. Go ahead, Unholy Raft. Explain why he didn't say. When he says, yes, blowing up cop cars, that's a cornerstone of American values. Can you explain to me what he meant by that?
I'm sorry, were you waddling away from this conversation?
No, I
thought
wasn't
you were waddling
waddling.
away.
I wasn't waddling anywhere, coward who's unwilling to show your own image. How much do you weigh?
I thought you were waddling away. Go ahead.
How much do you weigh?
Go ahead, put me in the background again.
How much do you weigh? How much do you weigh? Can we see can you turn your camera on, coward?
Oh, no? I don't have a camera.
No. Or you like Destiny? You just like watching women with other dudes. Is that your thing?
I don't have a camera.
You don't have a camera. But
no.
How much do you weigh though?
It's just crazy. I don't know where I got it. I think it's a Russian phone. It doesn't come with a camera on it. It's weird.
You have a Facebook. Why don't you link me your Facebook so we can see an image of you?
Oh, yeah, sure. Actually, I do have a Facebook.
Okay, let's see it. Let's see you.
Hang on, I have to find my Facebook. I don't really like the Facebook too much.
What's your name?
Why would I give you my name?
Well, you're going to give me your Facebook, presumably.
Oh, that's true. I'm going to give you my name. Actually, you have a good point there.
You don't have to give me your name, but how do I know you're not just typing in Jim Smith and show me a picture?
All right, Toby Minskler.
Where are you from?
I'm not comfortable with that with you guys, to be honest.
But you're about to send me a Facebook. How do I know that
I'm not comfortable with that with your chat.
Well, don't send the fucking Facebook link then, right? Because I don't want to put
someone Facebook link.
I don't want to put something on screen that you're uncomfortable with, right? You understand the point?
You're the one asking for it.
I'm asking for an image of you because you're going to make fun of my appearance. So I'm asking you for an image. I'm asking you for an image because you're making fun of my appearance. If you're going to send me your Facebook page, the only reason which will have roughly where you're from and your name is that I'm trying to make sure that on the spot you could give me that information instead of just searching for a random person on Facebook and claiming that that's you. That's all. If you're unwilling to give me your name, I'm trying to tell you, or your location, then don't send the Facebook page because it's going to have that information. Get it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, are you serious right now?
Yes, I'm serious. I don't want you to send information you're uncomfortable with.
I'm sorry. Okay, sure. I'm just gonna I'll just nod right now for you. Okay, no, I'm nodding. Cool.
Okay, yeah. So I don't want you because sometimes people send shit and don't realize what we could see when we scroll through it. So if you're fine sending your name,
you asked me. I didn't know that you were going to send your entire chat.
I asked for your image so that we could see your image. You said that you don't have a camera and made some bullshit about buying your computer in Russia. I then said, do you have a Facebook? Because I assumed you'd have pictures there. And it seemed as if you were about to send me your Facebook link. I'm dubious that you're going to send me your actual Facebook link. So I asked, well, what's your name and location off the top of your head? Because I could do that. I could send, if it was just an image of, or a VTuber, I could send some image of an attractive guy I know and be like, yeah, that's me. So I'm asking you like quickly to see if you're lying, like, oh, like a bouncer would when they're looking at your ID. Where are you from? How old are you? That's what I was asking. As soon as you said, well, I'm not comfortable, I said, well, then don't send the fucking Facebook page. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So are you going to send the Facebook page or no? You're good with that?
Why are you? I just said I'm nodding for you. What? I don't know why you're doing
I don't know what that means.
I don't even know what you're doing anymore, man. What is this point of this?
The point is, if you want to criticize other people for their image, but you're unwilling to put your image out there, it makes you seem
I'm not the streamer. You are.
That's true.
You're the one hosting the show, buddy. So don't put me up to the standard that you're not willing to keep yourself at.
Well, no, I'm the standard that I'm willing to put you at is that
standard, but you're the one hosting the show.
What are you talking about? A standard I'm unwilling to put myself at. If you want to criticize other people's appearances, but you're afraid to show your appearance, I say fuck off.
Well, too bad. You're the one host. You're the one showing
You
yourself.
could say too bad. That's fine. And I could say too
That's
bad to you.
too
and fuck-
bad. You're the
fuck
one that dealt
yourself.
with it.
Right.
You're the public figure. I'm not.
Okay, that's right. You're not a public figure because you're fucking not talented.
You
enough
can't
to
take
be
a
one.
little bit of criticism public.
Because you're not talented enough to be one, and you're probably very unattractive as well. So you're casting stones that you wouldn't want people casting at you because you wouldn't be able to defend your appearance. Now, can you explain to me when Destiny says that it's part of America's cornerstones to burn down police cars, how he's not really saying that? Can you say that?
I'm sorry. Are you still doing this conversation that you've had with now 3 people over the course of 4 years?
The conversation is relevant to
Okay,
all
so
of the
we're still coping
conversations.
over here. Okay, what do you want to cope over?
It has nothing to do with cope, and it has to do
It
with
is
you
because you're
being
3
wrong. Again, it has to do with you being wrong and the other person being wrong. You're both claiming that I'm misrepresenting this fundamental fact that was a corner of the conversation that we were having. The entire overarching conversation that I was having about Destiny is he condemns people for doing things that he himself supports. The idea that he condemns January 6th as political violence when he himself supports political violence and burning down police cop cars. He condemns Asmongold for being fascist adjacent while he himself approves of what would be fascist policies like banning people off of social media, etc. That's the entire point. The meta point in this is when I provide receipts, people will still say, even though it's objectively true what I'm saying, that's not true, you're misrepresenting it, etc., etc. Which means that I could provide 15 receipts of Destiny saying, ban Charlie Kirk, ban Jack Posobiec, ban Rob Noor. And each time you'll say, no, I don't think he's saying to ban them. I think you're misrepresenting. I think you're misquoting. I think you're taking it out of context. So when we have this first issue right here, which was the first issue which I was accused of taking him out of context, and we go through not just what he personally said to me, but what he was saying around the same time about riots and the other side of the coin of voting, and the proof's right in front of your face. At that very first barrier, you prove my point by saying, nope, you're wrong. That's not what he's saying. So now that we have his exact words saying, yes, burning down police cars, I support that, cornerstone of American values. Can you explain to me how you think I'm wrong when I provided context of him saying that rioting's the other side of the coin to voting?
Sure. The quote is, I believe, protesting and rioting can be sometimes the other side of the coin of voting. And as I said previously, and will continue to say, as Destiny said, as the last caller said, as these multiple quotes will never actually go beyond proving, is that unfortunately that can be a harsh reality that we deal with. Sometimes on case by case basis, we can agree with it at certain times, but agreeing with it doesn't sign off on it, doesn't and have our endorsement of said matters going forward. And in fact, it's just acknowledging the reality that we live in.
That's not what he's saying when he says it's fine, when he's saying he supports it, when he says that it's a cornerstone of American values. That's not him saying that's a harsh reality that unfortunately we have to live with.
It is.
No, it's not.
We disagree. But you can't prove that. You can't prove differently. It's just our reasoning.
I can prove.
You haven't proven that. You've just provided quotes and said
what does the word fine mean?
We've gone over this.
What does the word fine mean?
For Destiny or for you?
For anyone.
It doesn't matter for anyone. It's for him.
So the word fine means something for Destiny than it does for the rest of us.
No, but I just asked you earlier what karma meant, and you couldn't even provide a good balanced definition of that. So I'm not exactly sure why you're deferring to a widespread definition as if now that's going to make your point when it didn't make my point earlier.
It had nothing to. You didn't ask me just what karma meant. You said something like karmic
justice.
justice.
What is karma? What is karma's definition? And you just value on around. You just bounced around.
How much you want to bet? That's not the question you asked me. You didn't say what is karma. You said something else. It was like, what is karmic justice or karmic retribution or something like that's what you said.
I said
karma. Karma is simple. You asked me what karma is. I said people get what they deserve.
People get what they deserve, and what way?
I don't know. They just get what they deserve. If you're a thief, life has a way. If you're a thief, if you're a thief, if you're a shitty person, life has a way of kicking you in at some point. That's which way.
So,
okay?
Just because you're still
karma. Now, what does this have anything to do with the fact? Can you explain to me? I've given you.
Hang on. I want to stay here before you go on.
I've given you my definition of karma. Fine. You could disagree with my definition of karma. No problem. You're saying that Destiny is using a different definition of the word fine when he says the riots are fine. You're saying, no, he has a unique, different definition. Can you tell me what definition of fine you think Destiny's using? Go ahead.
Okay, so
What's the definition of fine?
Okay, hang on. You're gonna have to acknowledge this and live with this, but I'm not moving on until I've addressed.
All right, I'll ask you one more time and then we'll move on from this conversation. What's the definition of the word fine that Destiny is using? You asked me what my definition of karma is. I gave you my definition of karma. Now I'm asking you what Destiny's definition of the word fine is. What's his definition of the word fine?
Fine, in the way that he's probably using it, means that it's an okay that it exists there. It's kind of like hurricanes. Like there's not a lot I can do about it. They're fine, you know. So they're there. It's unfortunate. Sometimes it comes with great tragedy. I wish I could control it more, but I can't, and it's fine.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll play further these clips again. We're going to listen to these clips again, and we're going to see Destiny talking about the burning down police, and we're going to see if what he's saying here is, it exists, there's nothing I could do about it. We'll see if that's what he's saying. Let's play the clips.
Want to create an organization to talk about. I mean, I think if violence do it.
Historically unprecedented for this many cities to have this many protests, and then countries around the world are protesting, I guess, as well, in solidarity. Some cities, other countries too. So
what do you think about it? Do you support that, or what do you think about?
Do you support the First Amendment or not?
No, not the protest necessarily.
Yeah, so I support. Listen, if people want to protest, I think that's great. If people want to riot against like public institutions, you want to blow up cop cars or cop precincts or public buildings, whatever, that's cool.
Okay. Now, when he says if you want to blow up cop cars and public buildings, that's cool. What's the definition of cool that Destiny's using there? Go ahead.
That's cool.
What's the definition of cool? Because you're saying he's not saying that's a good thing. That's something that he's okay with. You're saying, no. It's just something that exists in the ether like hurricanes. So what's the definition of cool that he's using here?
Since this is the second word that I have to define for you, can you go back and give me the actual definition of karma?
Yes, karma is getting what you deserve.
Karma is the sum of a person's actions in this and previous states of existence, or destiny or fate following as effect from cause.
Is that how you use the term?
That is, I'm sorry, like, do you need another definition of karma?
No,
the force produced by a
about that
person's actions
definition?
in one life that can influence what happens to them in future lives.
Okay,
in their future.
Okay, so what about what I said is disanalogous from that, or is in conflict with that definition of karma?
So if someone is wishing, if someone like hears about like, oh, hey, did you hear that Nick Fuentes, someone is going to his house and they might try to like fuck him up? I don't care. And then Rob Noor hears this and says, he doesn't care that violence is being possibly done to someone. He's going to get his karmic justice one day. Someone might come. I'm not saying, wait. And then you have to walk it back.
I noticed that didn't respond to anything that I just asked you there. I'll ask again. What about the definition of karma that you just read that you would have been unable to give me without going to dictionary.com or whatever you want? What about that definition is at odds with what I said? It's like people getting what they deserve.
People getting what they deserve from whose perspective?
Okay, I'm going to say that your definition of karma is incorrect. Actually, I'll just go to a random definition of karma and say the Hindu and Buddhist concept karma is what will happen to you in the next life based on what you do in this life. Performing kind acts in this life gives you karma in your next life. The effect of a person's actions to determine his destiny in the next incarnation. So there, you're wrong about your definition of karma. See? Admit that you were wrong in your definition of karma.
That was exactly what I read.
No, it wasn't exactly what you read. Right? And because it wasn't, so now you're going to have to say, oh, wait, that's basically what I'm saying, which is exactly the point I'm making. You asked me for a definition of karma. I gave you the definition off the top of my head, and then you're like, no, that's wrong. And you read a dictionary.com, something definition, and I said, can you explain to me how that's at odds with what I said? And then you were like, well, Nick Fuentes had nothing to do with what I was saying. So I'll ask you again. When I said karma is basically getting what you deserve, can you explain what part of the definition you read is at odds with what I said karma was?
Since you're asking me to prove a negative in your mind, can you actually prove the positive and explain how your definition matches with the actual definition?
Yes, the idea
go ahead.
the idea of getting what you deserve is basically right in ground with the idea of actions that you take in this life affecting the outcomes that you would have in the future or a previous life. Exact same concept. It has to do with you take actions. If they're negative actions, if they're immoral, then immoral things will happen to you in this life or the next, is basically what the definition you read said, which is basically exactly what I said, much shorter, because I didn't have to rely. I guess what you're telling me is you didn't know what karma meant the entire first time you were talking about it until you looked it up. You didn't know. You didn't know. There is zero chance when you... There is zero chance when you first said the word karma. If I'd said, give me your definition right now, that without looking it up, you would have gave me word for word that definition you just read. Zero chance.
No, you got me. You got me.
Right.
Woo, damn, I feel
so
on
then
the spot.
what? So
tell
then
me,
now that
can you tell me? Hang on.
Now that I've explained to you how my definition of the word karma fits in with your definition that you read for dictionary.com or wherever, can you explain to me how it doesn't?
Well, hang on. I was going to ask you a question. After you asked me that
I
question.
answered you.
Hang on. No,
pro quo. I answered your question. Your question was, can you show how your definition fits within this definition? I did that. Now I would like you to answer why I'm wrong and why it doesn't fit within that definition.
you just answered your question. That's why I was asking you another question.
I did not. So you're admitting you were wrong.
What was your last question? What was your last question? What was the last question before?
You're admitting, I just want you to say, yes, you just answered the question. I was incorrect. Your definition did fit within it. Go ahead.
What was your last question before this one?
My last question, what do you mean before this one? The question
what was the last question you asked me before this one? Go ahead, tell me.
The question that I posed to you was, can you explain how my definition didn't fit within your definition?
And I asked you to please just explain to me how your definition is supposed to be accurate to it.
Which I did, and now I said, now that I answered.
And then you said that, and you said, okay, now is that good for you? I said, yes.
So you're admitting.
And so I asked you another question because you just asked me.
I did not hear you say yes. And so it's good to admit that, yes, you were incorrect, that actually I gave an accurate definition of the word karma, and that you tried to be a big man and read a dictionary definition. But in reality, you're now admitting, yeah, there was no need for me to do that because your definition fits with inside. Thank you very much. Now, what's the point you want to make now?
Is that what was said? Go ahead and read the quote for me.
You just said, yes, you're right. Your definition fits with it.
Go ahead. What was the question and what would I say yes to?
You just said yes. I answered the question that I asked you because you admitted yes, my definition fit within yours.
What was the question I said yes to?
You said yes, my definition fit within yours. Now, back to the question. When Destiny says it's cool to blow up police cars, what does he mean?
Well, hang on. I'm not done with this.
I don't care if you're done. That's what I'm talking about because you're clearly running in circles, not saying anything. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Like the whole conversation of karma is a non sequitur that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. You're trying to imply, what you're trying to do is the obvious language that Destiny's here saying that it's acceptable, it's fine, it's good for people to engage in riots against public institutions, that it's the other side of the coin to voting. You're trying to get out of it by saying, but you didn't know what the definition of this other word karma was. I gave you my definition of the word karma. It clearly fits within what you're saying the definition of the word karma is. So now we're back to the point at hand after I generously went with your non sequitur, which is how can you defend the fact that when Destiny in his own words saying it's cool to blow up cop cars, it's fine, it's absolutely fine to affect political change, it's the other side of the coin to voting, and you're still going to deny that reality and say, no, he's not saying that. What he's saying is it's like a hurricane, it's tragic, it could exist, we wouldn't want it to exist if we could help it, but that's just the way things are. It's clear that's not what he's saying. You can't defend it. And so you're trying to like run circles and be like, oh, but here's the dictionary definition of the word karma. Conversations that have nothing to do with anything. It's just word game bullshit. Everybody watching knows what Destiny was saying. Everybody watching knows that you know it. We all know it. Every single one of us know it. And you're trying to play this word game bullshit, just like you've been doing for the past 45 minutes or hour, when you've previously said, well, if you don't have the exact word for word quote of what Destiny said, and didn't Trump say Nazis were good, white supremacists were good people? No, he didn't say that. Let's go to the quote. That's what you've been doing for an hour, because you can't defend that you were wrong, that I was accurate about what Destiny was saying. Just like when I bring up quotes of Destiny calling for censorship of people on social media and only mainstream media should have a voice, you will not be able to admit that I'm right and you're incorrect, because you're so biased that you will not view the objective reality. That's all that's going on here. And you could do 1,000 different ways. But wait a minute, Rob. What's the definition of the word big, you fat fuck? Wait a minute, Rob. What's the definition of the word streamer? None of that has any relevance to we just played the clips and heard what Destiny said. You heard it. We know that you heard it. We know what Destiny was saying. You know what he was saying. And yet still you lie because you're bad faith. Just like the initial point of having you on here was all of your criticisms of me, just like your first paragraph was bullshit bad faith. That's all it is. Anything else to say? All right. Thanks so much, Unholy Rap. We appreciate you calling in. I will not be doing the displeasure of talking to you anytime soon. You're completely bad faith and worthless to talk to. So thanks so much for calling in this time.
Run away. Waddle,
I'm not
waddle
running,
away,
I'm not
Rob.
running away. I'll still be on here talking.
Waddle away, Rob. Go
I'm
ahead,
not
kick me
leaving.
and waddle away
I'm
because
not
you can't
leaving.
handle the conversation. Go ahead,
What
buddy.
conversation? What conversation can
Go
I handle?
ahead. Run away.
What conversation?
Oh,
What
oh, is your
conversation?
ego holding you here now? Oh, I've got his little ego by a little fucking leash. Look at.
Oh, see you later. It's fun. There you go. It's a good call-in show. 3 hours, 15 minutes, right? Nice. Mm-hmm. Now, I had a lot of fun doing that, to be honest. I am glad that he called in. Excuse me. A little bit of heartburn there. It gives me great pleasure to see these people. Easiest guy ever to manipulate. Go cope with another combo about the streamer that blacklisted you. This is how bad they are. And to be honest, this is what they want, is the attention. So, see you later, Unholy Wrapped. Now, Unholy Wrapped, who's already admitted at least twice to making new accounts, he'll make a new account. That's what he'll do. I get it, right? We understand what's going on. But that's how desperate they are. They say, you're desperate. You're talking about Destiny. I called out a post that Destiny made when he blacklisted me and ran and blocked me, okay? And then the Destiny fans are like, you're wrong. I proved that I'm right. And they're like, oh, you talk about Destiny. Let's get to super chats. Hooligans, member for 2 months, says, clap, clap. Thank you so much. Ticky Tack for $10 says, Rob, you're a respectable person. These people should be walking around your schedule, not the other way around. Thank you. I appreciate it. Lord of the Nerds for $5 says, Rob talks about his limited scheduling time more than any single subject he talks about. It's literally every stream. Yeah. Lord of the Nerds for $5. Are we seriously supposed to pretend we don't know Rob is trying to debate literally every single person he can get a word at? Whinging over dates equals lame. Yes. Bandit for $2 says, is that all one post? Guy needs a life hobby. Agreed. Lord of the Nerds for $2 says, caller has crazy ex-girlfriend DGG vibes. Lord of the Nerds for another $2 says, how much of a super chat for a man to read this? Sorry, Lord of the Nerds. When I'm talking, I don't get to the super chats often. Lord of the Nerds for $5 says, can only Raft tell us his argument to a woman and have her tell it back to us less emotionally and more rationally? Lord of the Nerds for $2 says, tone down for what? That's good. Tiggy Tack for $5 says, the dumbest trap someone can get themselves into is trying to defend someone else's position. Fight your own fights, not others. Yeah, that's why I thought the caller last night, it was weird because he was like, I could make all of Destiny's arguments for him. And I'm like, okay. Zen's Forehead, thank you so much for $5 says, just join. Here's some shekels. Thank you for the shekels. Appreciate it. Yeah, Grid, I gotta run here now. I appreciate it. Thanks so much, BC Sides for $2. Says just sending support. Thanks for the content. Yeah, it was good content. I enjoyed it. It's always a double-edged sword when it's someone like that, because I know that they're bad faith. I know it. And they want the attention. So by talking about it, you get the attention. But it is content for me. So I'll do it. New Piers Morgan's. Oh, Dershowitz and the new Piers Morgan. No. But the rest of sort of what he goes on, like this whole screen, again, I'll just to show you. I did waddle away that. I am speed waddling away. Also, I love, that's one of my favorite things when people, oh, you're fat, you're this. It's true, I'm fat. It's true that I'm not the most handsome person. I welcome criticism to that, jokes about it, no problem. But if you're going to do that and you're not showing your own image, methinks thou protest too much. This was his post that we were talking about from my video last night. We made it to about here. That's where we made it in that 3-hour conversation. I guess 2 hours. I was probably talking to him. Now I did talk about where are we at? Oh, because I hit the button and I banned him, it's gone now. The funniest thing was at the end of that, he makes a claim, which I thought was just amazing. And that was that I'm probably lying about my debate. I probably just did a couple debates in college and blah, blah, blah. I thought that was the most telling criticism. That's fair. I mean, you can find evidence of me debating online. You can find evidence of me qualifying for the national debate tournament, but fine. You're right. I must be lying about all of that. It's just interesting. I like dealing with those people every once in a while. It's a nice little Friday stream to argue with them and get the old blood flowing. What's the definition of the word karma? What's that? What's the definition of the word karma? Huh? What's that? What's the definition of the word karma? Yeah, you get what you deserve. Oh, that's not it. It's actually this dictionary.com. It's like that the entire time. The entire time talking to him. Now, Zen, he thinks that Destiny always crushes me in debates. Everyone always crushes me. The guy last night crushed me. That's his take. Defend the Federal Reserve Act of 1930. I choose not to. Me saying, by the way, just to address this point, if you say, let's say you do something shitty, right? And you get away with it. Like I knew a kid once that stole roughly $10,000 worth of stuff from his grandmother to fuel a drug problem and smeared his grandma as a liar. And to me, it's like, that's bad karma. Life will eventually kick you down for that. That doesn't mean that I'm cheering for that kid to get hit by a bus or I'm cheering for someone to rob him. I'm just saying that's life. If Destiny says people F around and find out if they get shot for, that's bad karma. That doesn't mean I want Destiny shot. Yeah. CL, thanks for the $2. Says Rob is bad at debating because he's too consistent. Yeah, we learned that the other day. Good stuff. So, anyways, fun interaction, fun discussion. We started off talking about dates. I'll say one more thing in reference to that. I love debating people. I'll debate pretty much anyone, right? There's a difference between the call-in show. If I say, sure, call in someday, there's a difference between me scheduling a debate with you. Those are different things. Me saying, yeah, call in, next time I'll be streaming is Wednesday, Thursday night, is not the same as saying, great, we've scheduled a debate for Tuesday. Let's do it. Those are different things completely. His big attack on me was with him. I said, I generously kept my stream going long one night because he said he was going to call in. He then didn't call in. So he wasted my time. Then he was like, when can I talk to you? I just want to talk to you, man. I said, I'll be streaming Wednesday or Thursday. Call in. I'm not going to set up time for someone who already screwed me once and announced to everyone, hey, I'm debating this guy on Holy Raft Wednesday, just so he could, again, for the second time, claim he was coming and not show up. Not going to do that. So if I'm streaming and you happen to be there and you want to call in, fine. No problem. His whole big flux of like, you said you'd stream Thursday night, but you actually Wednesday and Thursday night, but you actually streamed Wednesday night and Thursday during the day. So you're a coward. You're running from me. Go fuck yourself. I gave you the times when I thought I would be streaming. I stayed on late one night because you said you were calling in. You didn't call in. Fuck off. That's it. That's different than this Joe Ever guy that was like, yeah, I'll call in what day? Wednesday? It's great. Hey, I can't make it Wednesday. Can we do it Thursday? Great. That's different interaction completely. But apparently I was unethical or some bullshit because once that dude canceled Wednesday, I also didn't do a stream. Whatever. All right. It was fun. I actually thank Unholy Rap for calling in. I do. It was a fun show. I enjoyed it. Thanks so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you to everyone who donated. I will see you all probably be Wednesday before I could stream again. But we'll see. Work situation still in flux. I don't go into work until Sunday. We're doing family Easter tomorrow at Courtney's parents. So we did family Easter with my parents. We did family Easter with me and Hank and Courtney. And now we're going to be doing it at her parents. So that's the plan. Yeah, that's right. Tanks Lansing says, I remember that stream, Rob. He even made fun of the fact that he strung me along. Correct. So it was actually incredibly generous for me to be willing to let him call in again. That's what pissed me off in the original reaction. He's like, oh, I made you stay up late. That's what pissed me off. So anyways, yeah. And then my work, I go in Sunday. It's still, appreciate the prayers for the person I work with that's still going through a difficult time. So it's very much in flux what's going on. Unfortunately, it's the type of situation where I could be home. And if I'm home, I'll probably want to get my mind off stuff and be streaming. But I could be in a very intense work situation. So there you go. So thank you so much, everyone. We'll talk to you all soon. As always, have a good one.